I'd like to inject some hope into your news feed. Instead of debating or arguing about what might happen in the future and making predictions about all the various bad news and how it's going to turn out, I wanted to change the vibe. We tried this about a day ago, just talking about how the rest of the year is pretty exciting and there's lots of good games coming out and it's not a doomed future. And yes, bad news keeps coming out. We actually have more bad news from Bungie with respect to some of the veteran talent that was there. And these are people that I've met. These are people that have been at the company for a very long time. But there's always ways to improve the games and the studios that find themselves in not so great places right now. And with the huge gaming year ahead of us, it doesn't make sense to keep feeling bad or down about where gaming is right now. And this is really what I did all of the time with Destiny during Destiny 2. I said, yeah, it's pretty bad, but here's how I would fix it, or here's ways to improve it. And that's what I want to do this morning, talking about Bungie, throwing out my wildest ideas about how to save the company, how to save the things that they're currently working on. And one of the ideas I think might be something that PlayStation needs to consider. Now, if you're watching this later, be sure to hit the like button, be sure to hit subscribe, check your bell, make sure it hasn't switched off of all so you're not getting notified about my various live shows. YouTube pushes out updates and it can affect your notifications. So if you're a member as well, be sure to get into the Discord so you don't miss out on all the extra content. So we appreciate you guys continuing to support what we do here. So without further ado, let's talk about this. So let's talk about how I would fix Bungie and why I actually still have hope for their future. Because the news out of Bungie this week continues to look grim. With the departure of Scott Taylor and Lars Bakken, the concern about the future is growing. These guys have experience, knowledge. It stretches back to the Halo days, the very foundation of Destiny. These guys were there. It might start to feel like the very DNA of Bungie and Destiny is actively leaving the building, which makes questions about the future of the company just very natural. Listen, it's bad. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it, but the thing is, the thing that's great about Rock Bottom is it clears the board. So today, I want to talk about how I would fix Bungie. If I were handed the reins tomorrow, I've got 3 sort of crazy, break the glass in case of emergency ideas to turn the ship around. And just like the old days with Destiny, I want to hear your ideas, because if there is someone that can turn a situation around, it's certainly Bungie. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. So I have 3 big things that I would do, and the first is about Marathon. And no, I'm not going to argue that they should cancel or shut it down. Even though it's not doing so well right now, it's pretty much where I expected it to go given the genre. But my first idea is to pivot Marathon back to PvE. I watched a great video this morning about how they were revolutionary with the first Marathon in doing more environmental storytelling instead of just having a shooter that focused on the combat and the rhythm of combat like the early iterations of Doom. Now, I would argue that Wolfenstein 3D did an excellent job of storytelling within a first-person shooter, but Bungie was certainly charting a new course with Marathon back then. I thought that video was very insightful. Right now, Bungie is seemingly still chasing the extraction shooter Dragon. They're placing their chips on a highly volatile, highly punitive PvP genre that is notoriously difficult to monetize and sustain if you don't strike oil on day one. And listen, even fans of the game have to admit they did not do that in their first or now even their second season with this game. They are not seeing the response and the turnout that they would need to be financially successful. Now, with veterans like Bakken out and not at the company anymore, this was a guy who fundamentally shaped their multiplayer experiences. Sticking to the hardcore PvP trajectory is a continued gamble, especially since PvP has never really been Destiny's strong suit. So here's how I would fix it. You stop chasing trends and you retreat to your undeniable core competency. Bungie's golden goose is not hyper-competitive extraction gameplay. It's best-in-class, god-tier PvE gunplay, world-building, and really enjoyable gameplay loops. And Marathon has a treasure trove of great lore to pull from. So, pivot Marathon, pull it back. from the pure sweat fest and the transition this game into a more PvE-centric game, a co-op heavy experience. Currently, they are starting these first steps, it seems, with an experimental PvE mode. Now, admittedly, this mode is geared toward those who are already engaged and already very committed, and basically the core players of Marathon that are still playing. But it's a start. It shows a willingness to do more PvE with the game. They said that they're going to be doing more with PvE into Season 3 as they continue to evolve this game. Now, they continue to use that phraseology about evolving the game, so I'm saying, listen, strip out the anxiety of an extraction shooter, and you immediately guarantee that millions of Destiny players will consider trying out your game, along with the rest of the gaming world that's just a little tired of sweaty PvP games. You give the community what Bungie does best. But even if this never happens, okay, if that was never the goal, or maybe this never comes to fruition, maybe Marathon just slowly dies and goes away, I mean, that's always a possibility. My second idea is based on some information that I recently heard. They need to pull Destiny 3 out of incubation. Destiny 2 has been a monumental achievement within the world of live service, but let's be real, it collapsed under the weight of its own technical debt. More than that, the debt of overspending and cash-burning leadership that, well, is now gone. The only thing Pete Parsons managed to nuke was the actual company that he was in charge of. And it's clear that Destiny 2 is not worth trying to revive. It's too far gone. The onboarding experience is also terrible. A brand new player needs a collegiate level of research just to even know what in the world they're supposed to do. The final shape was an incredible capstone according to the community, but trying to sell more episodic content on a decade-old foundation, well, that's an uphill battle. So the fix? It's time for the hard reset. Pull Destiny 3 out of incubation. Yes, I actually know that they started on this, so get those fires going again. And I would say announce it. Announcing a numbered sequel does two critical things. First, it cuts the cord on D2's spaghetti code and the engine bloat. Second, it signals a clean slate. Actually, it does three critical things, because third, and most importantly, it gives hope. Hope for the studio and the franchise. A 3 on the box tells millions of lapsed players and people who tapped out after Shadowkeep or Beyond Light that, like, hey, there is a reason to come back. There's a reason to pay attention. It commands mainstream attention in a way that other seasonal updates and episodes just aren't going to do. And remember, we talked about this before. Silence and anticipation have served games like Hollow Knight Silksong and Kingdom Hearts 4 immensely. Those game trailers went viral. Those were cultural moments in gaming. Well, why? Because those games were announced. People were waiting for them. You can use that to your advantage. And speaking of advantages, this is my last crazy idea, and this one has to do with PlayStation. Leverage the PlayStation treasure chest. Sony did not buy Bungie to watch them slowly restructure themselves into oblivion or into a support studio. Yet Bungie at this point still feels like they're operating on an island. This fix is simple. Use the massive corporate safety net and lift Bungie out of their stupor. If the proprietary Tiger engine is causing bottlenecks, well, get on the phone with Gorilla. Figure out if Decima Tech can help out. More importantly, Sony has an absolute world-class support studio in Nixxes, and we know that Bungie flourished with the help of High Moon Studios and Vicarious Visions in the past. Instead of bleeding talent, forcing a skeleton crew to crunch, and delaying roadmaps, heavily integrate PlayStation's technology or their talent to support the future of this studio. Offload the heavy lifting, stabilize the pipeline, get a big project set in motion. Bungie is a PlayStation studio now. It's time that they act like it, and it's time that PlayStation treats them that way. Think of it as a massive power cycle on the company. Turn it off and turn it back on again. Because listen, I'll be honest, things look incredibly dark for Bungie right now. The structural shakeups are worrying, but let's take a quick trip down memory lane because we've been here before. Think back to the dark days of Vanilla Destiny 1, the Cryptarch turning your hard-earned legendary engrams into blue garbage, shooting into the loot cave for hours because the actual reward economy was non-existent. I don't even have time to explain why I don't have time to explain. People wrote the game off, and what did Bungie do? Well, they delivered The Taken King, and they revolutionized the genre. At some level, they invented a genre, a live service, ongoing looter shooter. Then came Destiny 2, the absolute misery of the double primary weapon system. Time to kill was so slow you could make a sandwich during a gunfight. They had static weapon rolls, the infamous 2 tokens and a blue from Curse of Osiris. The franchise was officially on life support. What did they do? Well, they dropped the Forsaken update, the DLC, the expansion that pulled off one of their greatest comebacks, maybe one of the greatest comebacks of their history. Bungie's entire legacy is built on stumbling right to the edge of the cliff, staring into the abyss, and then pulling out a miracle with their last 11th hour. The loss of talent hurts. There's no denying that. But if there's one studio in the industry that knows how to rise from the ashes when everybody else has written their obituary, well, it's Bungie. And Bungie, that's something I'm all too familiar with. All you have to do is you got to be willing to press the reset button. But those are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter. Leave them in a comment below, and be sure to stop by one of my live streams. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You guys are here on a Friday. It's the end of the week, so make sure you're hitting that like button. End of the week means that we are, in fact, going to be doing the roundtable with Ginger. It also means it's the last day to work on the goal, and Haseo has been starting already. Han shot first, and so did you. Mr. Haseo drops a single and then a 5-bomb to get us to 169. A couple of weeks ago, Haseo pretty much ensured that you guys were going to get the goal all by himself, practically. So if you want to help this gentleman out, get working. Split Bungie into 2 teams, says Gary. Let's see, one to manage Marathon, the other to make a single-player multiplayer game like a Halo-type game. Never understood why they needed 1,200 employees for Destiny. They didn't need 1,200 employees for Destiny. As I understand it, they mushroomed up and got really, really large because they were expanding. They were, they had a bunch of incubation projects and things like that. Siege Master hits 55 months. Thank you so much. Gets us to 170. And we are 5 away from the next milestone. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for doing a VIP. So, yeah, I mean, as I understand it, they mushroomed up, got really, really big because they had these incubation projects. They wanted to expand. They wanted to do a whole lot more. They also needed the bandwidth because if you think about what happened historically with the game, they were always trying to build the next game while maintaining the existing game, okay? And when you do that, the challenge is you don't quite have enough bandwidth for both. One, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? One thing is going to suffer, or both are going to suffer, when you don't have the bandwidth. So I think part of the reason they were expanding and they were hiring and getting fairly large is because they were trying to do both. They wanted to start working on these incubation projects. They wanted to start working on Destiny 3 as well as Destiny 2. Thank you so much, Johnny Always, for your Prime. I have it on very good authority that they were, in fact, working on Destiny 3. This entire time we've been hearing that the payback thing that Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy were working on, we've been hearing that that wasn't Destiny 3. I was told that it was, that was basically Destiny 3. And when it got shelved, it got sort of stopped. They were like, well, there's nothing for us to work on. Marathon below 6,000 peak 2 days ago. How long do they continue to spend money on it? I really, truly don't know. I don't know if they're going to do something significant at the end of the month. I really don't. I don't know if if they have plans for Bungie. I don't know what the goal is. I'm not sure. But the future for Marathon, I think, is in PvE. I firmly believe that now. I think even they believe that. I don't know if they're going to get enough people back in, but that's been kind of my idea. Sort of since the start, has been you're gonna need something more than just like the PvP extraction. So, guys, not sure what's going on YouTube. I don't know if the chat is broken, but I don't think I've ever done this before. We've been streaming for 15 minutes and the chat's not moving. Is there a glitch or something? What's the problem? Like, I've never seen this before in my life. There it goes. If we're that heavy lurk this morning, boys, gonna be a long road to the round table. I'm not sure if the chat was messing up, because it was literally just frozen. I refreshed it twice. Omacone, thank you for so much for using your Prime sub over there on Purple. If you accepted Sony taking away disc, you should accept Destiny 3 never coming back because you're going to be fighting the inevitable. I don't think they're equal at all. Testing, what's good? Okay. This doesn't work without a chat, boys. I'm not going to talk to myself for 3 hours. I can go do that on my couch. I was like, I honestly thought the chat was broken. I was like, what the heck is going on? Literally no interest in Bungie. Sorry, little bit. Good morning. It's fine. Will we get a Destiny 3 if they said D2 was never profitable? That's not what they said. This is being the thing with the whole Destiny 2 not being profitable thing. That's not true. Bungie overspent. That doesn't make Destiny not profitable. I think people keep missing the forest for the trees there. They were literally spending too much money. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean that Destiny wasn't profitable. It made them so much money they were able to buy their own independence. They were able to hire all those people. That doesn't mean that Destiny's not profitable. Bungie as a company ran themselves into the red. That's the issue. That's why I've said one of my wild, crazy ideas is tap PlayStation. PlayStation needs to step in and either leverage their own technology, leverage their own talent, and lift this studio up. I don't know what PlayStation has planned for them right now, but it certainly can't be stripping them down to being the Marathon developer. That doesn't make an ounce of sense. Like I can't fathom a world where that's what PlayStation wants out of Bungie long term. I just don't think so. I don't think that that's the goal. They've got to treat them like a PlayStation studio. There's got to be a little bit of reverence and a little bit of confidence in like, hey, let's lift these guys up with some tech and some talent. You've got all these studios. You've got a lot of people that could help. Instead of just letting them sit over here and flounder. Can they just transition Marathon into a looter shooter even if it takes a long time? I don't know if you could technically transition it into a looter shooter. I'm saying transition it into a PvE game. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't necessarily know if you could transition it into a looter shooter. Bumble Pants with 46 months and a member plus put Fair Games money into Destiny 3. At least Destiny has a fan base. Tassie keeps saying Destiny was rarely profitable in his articles. That's incorrect. Destiny was very profitable for years and just burned the profits. That is exactly right. I think that is probably the worst assessment we've seen that has come out of information from Bungie. It's not that Destiny wasn't profitable. They were overspending their own cash trying to expand. That doesn't make Destiny not profitable. I don't think people understand what that word means. It's like that is not at all what the issue was. The game was making so much money that they literally were able to buy their own independence, buy themselves out of the Activision contract, and they started expanding and they mushroomed up. That literally doesn't happen with something that's not profitable. That's not possible. Where did the money come from? And the money they got for the NetEase thing or whatever, that wouldn't have been enough. Or I don't even know who it was. Was it Tencent or NetEase? I can never remember. $10 from Street Shadow. Destiny 2 is profitable, but the profits were placed on 3 different incubation projects. If they wanted to just do Marathon, then cool, but not 3 to 4 projects at once. That was one of the problems. I don't understand why you would go and read. How can you read Pete Parsons' blog and be like, Destiny was rarely profitable? I think this is similar to other things that we've seen. I think people have developed the inability to be critical of Bungie, so they turn and blame Destiny. It's like they can slice it where yeah, it wasn't Bungie's fault. Mick D09 with a 5 bomb. Thank you so much, getting us to 178. If you guys are going to unlock the Saturday stream with Madam, it's going to be a tough one. We've got a long road. We've missed it multiple times in the past couple of weeks. And not sure why, but you guys have a chance. We've got a couple of hours here before we go and do the show with Ginger. Came from Dungeon Keys. Astrocross says the same thing as you when he reads Tassie saying Destiny equals no profit. Yeah, if I have a game making tons of money and then I turn around and spend all that money on other things And then you're like, oh yeah, it wasn't profitable. And it's like, that is a terrible assessment of what happened. That is a horrible diagnosis. Like, that's not what happened at the company. What happened at the company is you had leaders that really, really thought that the money was never going to slow down, so they were just they were burning through cash. What's interesting to me too is that Microsoft literally said that. Microsoft didn't want them. They're like, those guys, their cash burn rate's too high. We don't want them. This is one of the reasons I've been saying that, like, you've got to strip them down, get their operational costs to a reasonable place if you want them to build anything in the future. Street Shadow with another $5 super chat tip says, I think the Marathon team knows varied modes is the future. Test PvE roguelite coming soon and fully PvE coming season 3. It's going to be hard work. Yeah, the current PvE attempt is literally just for the most hardcore players, though. Like, a new player is not going to be like, oh, I can't wait to go and check out Cryo. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that that's what a new player is going to do. You know, it's bad when Microsoft thinks you spend too much. That's what I'm saying. That has nothing to do with Destiny. That has nothing to do with Destiny. Arena Mode Season 4, have they officially announced that? Like, that has nothing to do with Destiny. If you're just sitting here, if your cash burn rate's so high that you make Microsoft skittish, like, that means you are really, really burning. It's like, okay, well then what you're going to have to do is gut the leadership, strip this company down to the studs, get their operation costs down, and then give them something to work on. And if you need to lift the studio and lift the company with, you know, some of your other talent or some of your other studios, then do it. Like, lift. Like, set the studio up for success. I don't, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm curious. I'm less interested in what Bungie wants to do, and I'm more interested in what PlayStation has planned for them. Because it's like, I don't think this is the plan. I don't think this is the end goal for the company and the studio. I really don't think so. So they left a game that's unprofitable going for over 7 years. They left a game that's unprofitable going for over 7 years. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. I think you're trying to say that it's been profitable all, like, they wouldn't have continued to work on it maybe. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I know that during one of their most challenging times, they had Vicarious Visions and High Moon Studios, and you could say, well, that's an insane level of support for a company that was already large and expensive to run. And then that would make you conclude that, yeah, this company, it's too expensive. It's too expensive for this company to run. This isn't going to work. I could see somebody saying that means Destiny's not profitable. But again, if you're looking at where they're located and you're looking at what they were doing with their money, and you look at the Pete Parsons blog, arguing that Destiny wasn't profitable, I think just feels like very, very ignorant of the facts. That it feels like you're not, I don't know, it feels like you're not actually looking at what took place and what transpired. Gandalf says the experimental PvE mode in Marathon is generating interest in the socials, so that's good. And the PvE mode is going to be full-time in Season 3, which caught folks off guard thinking it would take longer to make. But if the thing they're experimenting with now goes full-time, I don't think it's going to go anywhere, because it's just Cryo. Like, it only appeals to the hardcore. It's not going to appeal to new players. I played Cryo last night and lucked out with wiping a team early. We then played the rest of the map, no PvP, and it was great. Behemoth says, hi, Lono, I hope you have a good rest after yesterday's stream. I appreciate it. I think Beyond Lightfall was very profitable, but the profits went to the new studio and Marathon development. They ran on a loss. Many companies do this. There were times of profit, but overall it wasn't. But again, that doesn't have anything to do with Destiny. I think that's kind of the point we're trying to make. They're getting at least the chance they need from Sony. It's good to see because the bones are really good. Again, I was talking about Marathon, and worth seeing if you can make it work. I think the difference is, I remember when we did this with Destiny 2, we kind of looked at the bones of Destiny 2 and we said, that I said it could work. I said that there's a lot they could do with this game. I was like, there's a lot of improvements they could do. We talked countless hours about like faction rallies and other things. And the fact of the matter was they had a lot of players to work with. They had a lot of people who bought Destiny 2 off the shelf that, gave them at least some injection of cash flow. I don't necessarily know that Marathon's not even close. I think when we were talking about this in the green room one time, it's like, well, they jumped out of an airplane without a parachute, with Destiny 2, and they kind of had to figure out how to stick the landing. And it kind of feels like Marathon jumped off of a picnic table. It's like there's no time to fix this. Like, you're so close to the floor and the ground already. I truly don't know what the long-term goal here is. I mean, one of my ideas is to literally pivot Marathon into more of a PvE game, but I don't know if I don't know if that's even possible. The question would be, is PlayStation going to step in and completely change everything? Are they going to step in and change, the future of Marathon? Are they're going to say no more Marathon? I just don't know. Why would you keep making DLCs, content, and expand teams for a game that isn't profitable? The notion it's never been profitable is ridiculous. I again think that people have developed a weird sort of hesitancy and inability to like, there's a hesitancy to like criticize Bungie. So it's like their instinct is to be like, well, it's Destiny. It was Destiny's fault. Destiny was rarely profitable. Poor victim Bungie did their best all these years, to make Destiny profitable. And it's like, no, it was Bungie's fault. It was Bungie's Bungie leadership's fault. They were overspending. That's going to be the thing that I'll always harp on in these discussions, to be like, no, you don't get to go back and act like Destiny wasn't a profitable franchise given how much money it generated. If you jump off of a picnic table, there's no impact speed. You mean 1,000-foot helicopter ride, no time to pull the ripcord or hitting a velocity of death. Sure. Like, that's, yeah. That's what we need. That's exactly the correction we need. I can't imagine supporting a game for 10 plus years if it wasn't profitable. Well, or expanding, or hiring new people, or investing in incubation projects, or talking about, we're going to do TV shows, we're going to do movies. Like, that. I don't think you do that with something that's like rarely, like rare, like if something's like rarely profitable. Like, none of those things make any sense. Just woke up to seeing Ryan Hurst getting recast for a torn bicep. Yeah, I'm really curious, like, what in the heck happened there? Torn bicep. Yeah, Ryan Hurst not going to be Thor. Not going to be Thor. He was Thor. Not going to be Kratos. Give Bungie the Killzone franchise and see what they can do with it. Clearly, Guerrilla is done with it. That's why one of my ideas was literally like, hey, You guys should be helping out here. PlayStation should be lending talent or technology or something to get this studio into a better place. That much is clear. Destiny's, what the heck? Destiny spraying communities and streamers' careers. That's impressive. Yeah, they also nuked careers. Give Bungie the kill. I already read that. In my opinion, torn bicep is throwing the axe. I guess. Why would you really have him throwing it, though? They filmed 4 episodes already, and they'd rather kick him aside and recast instead. Maybe they weren't feeling his Kratos vibe. Either way, kind of sucks. Well, either that or his recovery was going to basically put the they crunched the numbers, and they were like, well, waiting on him to recover versus recasting and refilming. They probably crunched it and said, this is the way. Good morning. What's good, Dan? Most likely working out for the series. I didn't see that they had already filmed 4 episodes. I didn't see that. That's kind of crazy that they already did that much. the CEO of GameStop, confounds me. I don't think his comments are confounding. I think he's literally establishing strength for the brand. He's saying that's not where our money comes from. He's not really helping the physical argument of the gaming public, but he's like, yeah, we'll be fine. Like, they got to signal some strength. They got shareholders, man. I don't understand how incubation projects would burn that much money. Either they weren't incubation and actual projects or fraud. Well, what I would assume is going on, Hilly, is that the incubation was running in tandem with the hiring, right? That would be my assumption, is that they weren't just like, oh, spend a bunch of money on the incubation. It was, well, we're going to spin up incubation, which means we need to hire. Like, they got up to like 1,200 people. Like, that's insane. They basically hired a whole nother studio's worth of people. Because they were around 800 or 900 and got up to like 12. Some people have said they got up to like 1,600. I always heard it was 12. Either way, they basically hired an entire studio's worth of people. Even more wild, why the rush? Sony isn't exactly very popular at the moment. Oh, with the TV show, the TV show is not going to reflect poorly on Sony. I mean, the recasting, won't reflect poorly on Sony. The report said he was doing a stunt on set. My only thought was that that's what the stunt guys are for. Well, yeah, unless they didn't have somebody that was big enough, or I don't know. Maybe because if it was a stunt on set and he tore his bicep, I would assume he was like overextending it or something. Like, was he climbing? Was he reaching? Was he throwing? I don't know. That's insane. Normally you hire, once the incubation project reaches a point of being commercially viable, they put the cart before the horse. Well, I'm speculating though, Hilly. I don't know if that's what they did. All I know is that they hired an insane amount of people, if you really think about it. Now, some of the reason they maybe needed to hire a lot of people is buying themselves out of Activision meant that they lost access to High Moon Studios and Vicarious Visions, which is basically overnight bandwidth loss. So it's also possible that they were burning through cash because they were trying to overcompensate with the fact that they lost two of the more pivotal studios that helped them do what they do, you know. Incubation projects are money sucks. It means they added second staff for mid-management to get promoted for execs. If someone comes up with a good IPO idea, they throw money at it. The way I see it, Bungie still see themselves as the better ones. Don't assume the responsibility for the Destiny situation. The company needed to change, and they move forward. Well, I think that the difficulty with them taking responsibility for what happened with Destiny is the people responsible all left. You know what I mean? Like, if I come into a position and I'm like, man, that really stinks that happened, that the CEO mismanaged the company and the CEO did this and that and the third, and I come in and try and fix it, I can be like, look, it's really unfortunate the situation that we're in, but here's how we move forward. And if you came to me and you were like, you're not really taking responsibility for all the bad stuff that happened, I'd be like, how am I supposed to do that? Do you want me to throw the guy under the bus that was previously here? Because that's not very classy. Do you want a glib apology from somebody that didn't do it? Like, what would that do? Like, what would that do if, like, new leadership walked out and apologized for a bunch of stuff that they didn't do? Like, would it make you feel better? Like, what would that do in the grand scheme of things? It would just be some glib, corpo-approved, disconnected statement that wasn't even penned or voiced or stated by the person to blame. Like, you know what I mean? They said Ryan Hurst would be out until 2027 for the injury. I don't understand why Sony doesn't do their live service push on a Resistance or Killzone game and already established and liked IP. I think any money they spend on a shooter live service, especially if it's even remotely Call of Duty adjacent, I think they're wasting their time, because like most of their core audience that they would be trying to appeal to, they're already playing Call of Duty, and I think that they know that. Like, imagine that you're PlayStation and you're looking at the behavior of your user base, right? You got 130 million monthly active users, 130 million MAUs. And you're looking at that number and you're like, okay, here's all the people that would potentially be interested in a Resistance or a Killzone. They play shooters, they like shooters, they play ongoing shooters. One thing you're going to notice about your target audience when you do this research is, wow, a lot of these people just live in Warzone. They just live in Call of Duty. They just live in Apex, okay? So what you're doing is you're fighting a losing battle. You're fighting, in an economy of attention. You're basically saying, hey, you people over there that like shooters and you sort of have your shooter and the thing that you like to play and the thing that you like to do, we'd like you to come over here and play this shooter instead. Well, what's going to happen is what many other shooter live service games have learned is you're going to be celebrated for about a month because the new car smell is intoxicating, and then eventually they're going to go back home. The biggest threat to most live service games is the existence of home games. Everybody kind of has their home game. They have their game that they revert to. They have their game that they go back to. That is and always will be the greatest threat to any live service game, is that the game that you're making likely has people playing it who are taking a break from their home game, which means you've got to convince them that you can be their home game. If you don't do that, they're just going to go back wherever they came from, whether it's Fortnite, Apex, Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege, Valorant, CS:GO. I mean, there's an ocean of games out there that people tend to live, and you're trying to convince them to stop living there. Like, oh, come live in our game anyway. What was COD before COD? Make a better game than COD. Nothing lives forever. Tear it down. Take the best parts and improve it. I mean, that all sounds good on paper, but they're making business decisions, and business decisions are going to be based off of opportunity and risk. And so what they're going to do is they're going to look at their player base and they're going to say, what opportunity do we have to build a Killzone or a Resistance live service game? What's the opportunity? Well, the opportunity is all of these people here are the target audience, okay? The risk is all these people here are going to go back to their home game. They're going to go back to Call of Duty. So if you're trying to convince PlayStation to invest the money in like a first-person shooter, Call of Duty adjacent live service game, I think you're going to have a hard time compelling them. Old Sony could have done it. I don't know. Sure, that doesn't concern me. That's just like a hypothetical woulda, shoulda, coulda. I'm just giving you that's just basically how they're going to look at it. They have amassed an enormous Call of Duty loyal base that pumps money and time into their stats and their MAU number every single month. They don't see any reason in trying to go to those people and being like, do you want to play this game too? Like, I just think that they see that as it's just not a good investment in their mind. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think they're right. I mean, this isn't really a hot take. This is more of a lukewarm take. The last thing we need is another, Call of Duty adjacent live service first-person shooter. That's the last thing we need money going to right now. Like, if you're on the sort of anti-live service, or I want PlayStation to make good live service, like wherever you are on that spectrum, that's like the last thing the market needs right now is like a Call of Duty adjacent live service shooter from somebody else. Like, unseat Call of Duty. Why? Like, who are you really making the game for? Are there a bunch of us right now that don't really play Call of Duty and we don't really play shooters anymore, like chomping at the bit to jump into a game that's basically like their version of that game? It was kind of like when Concord came out. It was like, here's our version of a hero shooter, right? Here's our version of a hero shooter. Okay. Everybody kind of shrugged at it. Like, here's our version of a first-person shooter, Call of Duty sort of adjacent style shooter. I think everybody would just be like, yeah, that was fun for a month, and then it would be over, and then it would be a massive waste of money. That's why when I look at Bungie and I look at PlayStation, I'm like, I think PlayStation needs to step in and give Bungie tech and talent. Like, I think the technical debt of Tiger has come due. If you guys haven't hit the like button yet, be sure to take a quick second and do that. Like, the technical debt of Tiger, I think, has come due. I don't think you can continue using Tiger. I think they'd have to move on to, I think Decima could work. Decima's been used for shooters before, and we know it's a very good engine. So, Marathon was dead on arrival. Arc Raiders killed it a year before. I mean, I don't think Arc Raiders killed it. I think Bungie kind of did that with their showcase. They released DMZ already. I sincerely feel that there should be a world where Destiny and Marathon could live side by side with their own audiences, but that was completely sabotaged by the greedy upper management. I don't know if the upper management was greedy as much as they were reckless. You know what I mean? Like, I know they were drawing absurd salaries that largely led to the company's financial troubles. Like, they all wash their hands of it and walk away incredibly wealthy, but they were probably the biggest villains in the room because they were happy to become obscenely wealthy, all while the company was headed for disaster, and then they all just walk away. They're like, well, we're a bunch of multimillionaires now, so what do we care? I mean, that's essentially what they did. Like I said, the only thing Pete Parsons managed to nuke was the company he was in charge of. Like, that's what he managed to destroy. I blame him. This was at his leading and under his watch. All these years, of not even considering restructuring or adjusting any of those things, and that's why they're in the situation that they're in. Now, I don't know if that means you can go in and, can you restructure it so that it doesn't happen again? Can you ensure that there's, do we need salary caps at companies like this? Like, do you really need somebody just every single year making more and more millions of dollars while the company is sitting there thinking, well, hopefully our game sells, a bajillion copies because, our operational costs are so high. You got to wonder, do they need to consider some more, drastic actions there? Horizon Hunters Gathering is online and using Decima. Well, I mean, it's not a shooter, though. Yo, good morning, Ray. They allowed the devs to make games that no one wanted. I blame the companies from the top down. I'm not sure who you're referring to. What devs made games that nobody wanted? Are you referring to Bungie? Because a lot of their games we never even saw, so it's hard to know. The video I watched this morning, he kind of walked through the extraction shooter push. He kind of walked through it, and it was like, oh yeah, this clearly seemed like where the industry, or at least the community, was going. Like, oh yeah, let's do extraction shooters. I'm shocked they're still operating from the multi-billion-dollar facility. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a change in the next couple of years. That's not something you can do quickly. I don't think you can do that quickly. You can't be like, hey, not only are we laying off half the company, we also need to get you guys out of this building. I think you kind of have to do these sorts of things in stages. I mean, we're learning that with the Xbox layoffs, they were so significant that there were people that didn't even know what was going on. So you can't gut the company and move them out of the building all in the same run. I think upper management tried to kill Destiny on the way out. They didn't want to see Destiny thrive without them. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's what happened. That would be strange. I don't think they were I don't think it was malicious compliance. Yeah, we're gonna murder this studio on our way out, or not malicious compliance. I don't think there was some kind of a revenge angle here, where they tried to hurt the studio on the way out. That doesn't make an ounce of sense. That I don't think so. I think the idea of something is more appealing than actually doing it. There's a certain reality of these things that most of the general public will never understand. Jez Corden says Xbox's social media watching PlayStation's diss debacle, knowing they'll have to announce the same thing soon. That's right. Giza, thank you so much for 50 months over there on Purple. I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. The live service game genre on the whole is highly volatile. When dev studios like Bungie are known for their single player and multiplayer shooter type games. Yeah, but I mean, I don't think Bungie's been known for single player for a really, really long time. There were people that were surprised when I said that, like, I don't think you would want Bungie making a single player game right now, because, and the reason I say this is they spent the last 13 years becoming a live service studio. They have entire departments and levels of expertise and institutional knowledge that all orbits around live service. And it's like, they've not been a single player, studio for a really, really long time. So I agree they did try to kill it. There's no evidence for that. So that's just, I think that's just made up. Consoles are being forced to play with PC guys as in most games kill PvP genre. Cheaters everywhere. I mean, that's probably an aspect of PvP fatigue, the rise of cheating. I think a lot of people have gotten kind of bored with PvP, and cheating probably played a part for a lot of folks, because I've always said that cheating creates an epidemic. It creates two epidemics at the same time. Number one, it creates an epidemic of, like, other people feeling like, well, I guess I have to cheat to play. But it also creates an epidemic, what I call it the sus epidemic. Every good kill is sus. Every time somebody puts you down quickly or gets a crazy shot on you, you think, well, what they might be cheating. So, like, it just creates a massive problem for your game when cheating gets a foothold. Are you going to do the Duskblood playtest? I have much better things to do with my time than touching that thing. I don't have any confidence in that property at all. It also doesn't interest me in the least. Like, I would never play a game like that. Like a PvE FromSoft game. I'm good. I can go stub my toe somewhere and probably have a better time. Don't project your own emotions onto these people and companies. Not everyone is pathologically spiteful. I just think that people are creating... If you think that the company's leadership at Bungie intentionally damaged the studio in these games on their way out, I just think you're in delusional land. Like, that you're just writing that's not even fan fiction. That's like worse than fan fiction. That's just like, you're just making stuff up. There's no way at that level of leadership and operations they'd be like, I tell you what we do, guys. Let's just ruin all this on our way out. Let's put hundreds upon hundreds of jobs in jeopardy. I think that that's an absurd thing to even think is possible. It doesn't even need to be refuted. It's arguably stupid. The final content dump of D2 makes that impossible. I think they did try. I think you just like to say things for a reaction, and this is the last one you'll get today. Even if there isn't cheating, you have those people who play right at the midnight release while the worker doesn't get to touch it until evening, and they're already behind the gamers hardcore. Yeah, I think that in general, the idea is the PvP games at a certain level, people slide off, right? Like, people slide off. One of the problems is that, what you're saying, like, the hardcore folks just get in and grind, and then they learn the maps, they learn the nooks and the crannies, they learn the shortcuts, they know what best gun to use. Maybe they have the best gun and you don't have it yet. That is certainly an aspect of people being like, yeah, I don't want to play this, right? You're going to slide off within the first week because you just get behind, right? There was some kind of an exploit in Marathon that kind of caused problems, week one of this season. So you definitely have like the slide off effect. I think there's many aspects to people feeling fatigued by PvP in general. And I said one of those things is cheating. One of those is what you brought up, certainly, that like I can't keep up with the hardcore players. Like I I'm already behind. Within like a week, you're going to feel, and then it's a losing battle because you go in and you're not winning as much, you're not getting as many kills, and they just continue. So it's like the imbalance almost feels like it compounds itself the more that you play, because every time you come back, you feel like you slip further and further behind, and they get further and further ahead. I think that's generally a problem for any kind of like competitive, online game. There are people that think everyone is cheating when they die. I've seen it. That's why I said it causes an epidemic of sus. There's an epidemic of sus that spreads in a game when there's cheating. Every good kill is sus. Every quick shot, every quick death, every cool maneuver, you're like, well, that was sus, that was sus, that was sus. You think somebody's cheating. That happens. Once Family Lights hits, you're not going to want PvP. That's another aspect that I think has hurt, that is probably hurting PvP games, is the age demographic of gamers. A lot of us are just like, yeah, we don't really want to play those types of games anymore. We don't really want to go into a game where my ability to succeed, have fun, or, make progress or have a good time is dependent upon me winning, right? If you go and you're playing a game and the boss is really hard and and you're learning and you're like, I can improve, you're going into an environment where the rules are sort of established. It's not like you go in one time and fight the boss and he's a little dumb and derpy, and then the next time you go in, he absolutely owns you. PvP can be a bit random like that, right? You start to think, I feel like I know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm playing better. And then you play against a player who humbles you, right? So I think when there's sort of like parameters and rules, you're like, okay, I can improve against this boss. I can learn his moves, his telegraphs, and I can start to excel. And the evidence of you excelling is you beat him, and then you put him behind you and you go to the next thing. The difficulty with PvP is it's really, really hard to get a sense of that progress, because you're sort of always going back into another game. You're going back into, that meat grinder where you may have a good game. You may have a bad game. You may play against a bunch of potatoes. You may play against guys that are insane. And so it's difficult to be like, am I getting better? Like, am I excelling? So I think that's another reason that people have just started moving on from them. They're like, I don't really get a sense of progress or achievement, but I play these games over here and I really do. Yeah, the Belmont's Curse previews look really, really good, Old Dad Gamer. Really, really good. They are, it's getting high praise. Guys, if we could get 50 more likes on the video. Fridays have been a little bit of a slower day for us, like just more of the core audience turning out, so thanks for being here. Make sure and do your due diligence that when you get in the door of a live stream here, you get us the like count moving. And then we will be doing the roundtable with Ginger, and it looks like you guys could rally right now and all link arm in arm, and you could maybe get us to the goal of 500. Looks like we're going to go on a 2-week streak of no Saturday stream. That's fine with me. If that's fine with you, that's on y'all, because that's y'all's extra stream. We can always do those with Madam on Saturdays with community game nights and fun things with her. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We'll just keep doing our thing every week. Extraction and BR games are just exhausting. I miss traditional multiplayer where I didn't feel like I'm missing out for not playing a bit. Well, that's the catch-22, is that because it's difficult to sense your progress, they give you all these other things to progress. They give you a battle pass. They give you achievements. They give you little assignments, and they give you... they're almost like bounties, right? That's like a continued thing of like, well, we got to give people a sense of progress. That's why they do skill-based matchmaking. That's why they put bots in games. Like, games like that have essentially become a psychological battle. Like, you're constantly battling with, why are people going to keep playing? Like, if you lose 6 games in a row, you're going to be pretty heavily motivated to not play anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and they have to consider that. Like, they're literally battling with the mind of the player. The mind of the player is always teetering on quitting because they could always go play something else. There's an ocean of games out there that they could go and play that are either free or, you know, that, hey, man, there's a lot of good releases coming out. So it's like they're always battling with the psychology of the player, you know? Always battling with the psychology of the player. So apart from the monetization, the my player progression for NBA is actually good. You're either good at the game or trash or cheating. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that game. The difference was back in the day it was land local, somewhat equal level, and not pay to win. They want to have things to grind for so that the company can implement a pay to catch up pack in the store. Yeah. Okay. My player is a pay to win. Day one, you could be a level 99. What's my player? What are you talking about? I like Marathon a lot, but I wish it played a little more like Dark Zone in the Division. More emphasis on survival and having different goals. Also, you don't lose what you take in, only on extract. Hilly says, for me, the only PvP game I'm currently playing is Halo Infinite. I'm grinding all the passes and picking up the stuff from the exchange. I get XP from good games, so lots of progression. Getting better is not part of the equation, so I think you're right. Once I have the stuff I want, I will play less. I've always just felt like part of what has happened, like if I go back and think about like when I was playing Quake 3 Rocket Arena every day, right? Every single day, I was like, this is what I'm going to play. This is where I'm going to go, okay? There were a lot of factors at play there. It was my third space. It was what I did with my buddies after school. It was what I did with, you know, and it was what we talked about when we were at school, right? But it was also really the only thing there that for me to play. There wasn't like all these other games I could go and play. So I do think a lot of the thing that we forget is one of the reasons that we kind of lived in games like that is it was like, well, there wasn't really anything else to play. I mean, it was, for me and my friends, it was basically Quake 3 Rocket Arena. Like, that was it. Now, what happened, as soon as they got into a game called EverQuest, they all played that instead. They just shifted to that. Like, and I think that's like a microcosm of what's happened for a lot of us is like we've played other games. So now like the staying power of a PvP game, like an arena game, especially where it's just kind of a meat grinder, you're not going to just keep going back and doing it over and over and over and over again. You're not. You're not going to keep going back and doing it. You're going to be like, well, yeah, I've had my fill. I've played this PvP game for, 10 hours or what have you. I've kind of seen everything there is to see and had all the good and bad experiences I'm going to have. I'll just go play something else. I think a lot of the reasons we just continued to play the games that we played back in the day is because there was literally nothing else to play. There was quite literally nothing else to play. So that was it. That was where you lived. Well, now, if you boot up a game and you play for a couple of hours and you don't have a very good time, you could just go play something else. You can just go play something else. So, but back then it was like if I had a couple of bad games or if I had a bad afternoon of games, it's like, well, I'll just get better. I'll try again tomorrow because that was it. That was the game. What's good, Zubair? Yeah, I'll be on the roundtable today. There's a literal countdown next to me. Marathon has a fundamental identity crisis due to the lack of protagonists. We projected ourselves as Master Chief and being the Guardian in the saga. I don't know how Bungie will solve that. That video that I watched, Cross reacted to it. I didn't want to watch Cross's reaction because I wanted to watch the actual video. Like, nothing against Cross, but it's like, I want to watch the video uninterrupted, right? So, I pulled it up and I watched it. And this guy made an incredible point. He made an incredible point about Marathon. He said the game has an identity crisis. And this is how he made his argument. So he says, extraction shooters, a lot of what you're trying to do, and one of the best ways to succeed is to not get in fights, is to not engage. It's one of the primary aspects of how to survive and how to play an extraction shooter. He's like, but Marathon just largely signaled it was very Apex adjacent by having all these abilities and these characters that were like one-to-one copies of Apex. He's like, and the abilities themselves seem entirely focused around engaging in a fight. He's like, so you have a game where you shouldn't really go in with the goal and the mindset of like, I'm going to go in and fight. The goal should be, I'm going to go in and get loot and survive and get out. He's like, this creates an identity crisis. It's like this internal dissonance of, this is a game where, that's why I said it just feels like an arena shooter with loot. It's like I go in, the environments aren't super large. Like as soon as you get into an encounter, you're kind of right on top of each other. Like there are some longer sight lines and some more open areas, but it's like, it just feels like the game wants me to fight. And it's like, why not just make a PvP game then? Like you add in the loot and then it's just like, then the game sort of feels like, well, what are you actually trying to do here? What are you actually trying to build? So I thought it was an amazing observation that he made, that like the character design and the ability design is promoting fighting in a game where fighting isn't really ideal or the best thing. IGN has an article on Bethesda's new TES and Fallout roadmap. Yeah, it looks like somebody put this here in the Discord. Synth Potato has also tweeted about this. Fallout 3 and New Vegas remasters are in the works. Obsidian is making a new Fallout game, now fully confirmed. The Elder Scrolls 6 is still in development, confirming to be running on a new iteration of the Creation Engine 3. Fallout 5 is in pre-production and will run on Creation Engine 3. Starfield will continue to get new content and updates. The Elder Scrolls 6 still sounds like it's years away, but Fallout 3 and New Vegas remasters is beyond exciting. Fingers crossed. This is just PR. I'm sorry. They're only. This is the. Yeah. I'm just kind of over all of the attempts to make Xbox look fine and okay right now. I just don't care. All the stuff with id Software. I have no interest in talking about that company right now because it's just a bunch of BS. That's all it is. It's just more Microsoft and Xbox obfuscation to make it seem like everything is fine and green pastures ahead. That's all I have to say about it. I don't want to. I'm so done talking about that company and how everybody just plays along with what they say. I'm over it. I don't want to talk about them. It's not fun. I feel like you have to go to a PvP game to learn the maps, the guns, the play patterns, and the stuff. It's hard to jump from PvP game to PvP game. Well, and a lot of the times, the only real reason somebody might jump from a PvP game to another PvP game is because they're bored in the current PvP game. Like, that's literally the only reason that they're doing that. That's the only reason. Like, they're like, oh, I'm bored in this one. I want to go play something new, and go play something fresh. And that's why I always say, like, the new car smell of an arena shooter, is intoxicating because the game that you're in, you're kind of bored, you're kind of annoyed, you're kind of over it, and that you go play the new one. So the only real context for hopping around sometimes is sheer boredom. Like, that's the only reason you're in the new game. You're not in the new game because you're like, oh my gosh, I this is just what I do. I just jump from new game to new game to new game. So, they need to have more match crafting in Arc Raiders. There needs to be more engaging aspects in matches besides looting and shooting. I mean, yeah, I've not played Arc Raiders in a really long time. I think most live service games are always going to have that issue, and they're always going to have that struggle of eventually you're like, yeah, I've kind of seen and heard it all. HNDC TV, thanks so much for jumping back in, getting us to 180 on the week. It is Friday, so check your primes and your renewals, guys. The Fallout projects almost certainly include 7. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Todd Howard, remakes, remasters, Schreier's interview with Todd. Yeah, don't want to talk about it. I'm so over talking about that company. I find everything about them to be annoying and infuriating. Considering the Sony backlash, how likely you're going to get a Bloodborne remake? Well, the Bloodborne remake's not up to Sony. They've gone twice to FromSoft for Miyazaki's blessing, and they've been told no twice. I have a feeling they're not going to ask again. I have a feeling that they're not going to ask again. So, what's the plan for the weekend? I don't even know. We don't really like do that here. I don't really talk about like what I'm doing with the fam. Yeah, the Bloodborne remake is up to FromSoft, and FromSoft has gone arrogant. I don't think that's what it is. I've got a video on that. I went and found interviews with Miyazaki, and it's not arrogance. So it's Miyazaki was so impressed with the work they did on the Demon Souls remake that they felt pressure building Elden Ring. So like the Demon Souls remake was so good that the Elden Ring team felt pressure. And I think Miyazaki, the way that he sort of holds Bloodborne in high regard, like it's a game that he's very proud of and he holds very close and, you know, near and dear to his heart. I don't think he wants to let somebody else touch it. I don't think he wants somebody else to make it look that good, because that, I think, narrative would bother him. Like what they did with the Demon Souls remake, he's like, yeah, I don't want you doing that with my baby. Like, fundamentally, I think that's what it comes down to. Now, if you want to say that that's ego or whatever, like, I mean, he has a right to protect something that's precious to him. Like, if he views it as something that is very, you know, near and dear to him, I could completely understand being like, yeah, I don't want somebody else handling this and making it look, you know, the way what they did with Demon Souls was impressive. It was very, very good work. It's, you know, it's worthy of praise. So, you know, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Because personally, I don't think Miyazaki's going to loop back and want to do it. I just don't think so. I think he'd prefer to do new things and to make new games. Now, I could be wrong, but that's just the vibe that I get from the way that he kind of sits and moves. He doesn't seem like the sort that would want to go back and work on like a remake. Like, oh yeah, let's go back and work on a Bloodborne remake. That doesn't seem to be, you know, inviting for him. You know? I also think he wants to be able to be the one to do more with it when he gets a chance. Even that, I don't know if he wants to do it. I get the impression that that's just not his way. That's just not his vibe. Yeah, it's just not his way. He wants to move on to the next projects. He wants to move on to the next thing. So, So I don't know if you'll ever get him to loop back on Bloodborne. I just don't have a lot of faith in Sony and live service, so I hope they can turn Bungie around, but I won't hold my breath. Well, I mean, I've said this in the past. If they can't turn it around, then they might as well pack it up. They might as well pack it up. If you can't turn Bungie around, if you can't get them into a position where they're successful and having, like, you know, production games coming out, pack it up. Like, don't even bother with live service. If you can't figure out how to get these guys back on track, they have a literal mountain of info and insight. I'm currently playing Scorn. Have you played it? I played it when it first came out, and I really liked it. I never went back to it. It was very different than people expected, I think. I think people expected it to be more of a shooter, and it was more of like a puzzle-focused kind of, maybe like horror game. Not even for the PS6. His own teams have said they have a desire for a PC version. The PS6 isn't going to be compelling for them to work on Bloodborne. The only way they're going to want to work on Bloodborne is if Miyazaki gets a hankering for it. Like if he suddenly decides he wants to do it. Right? If his team is like, we really want to get this thing on PC, we'd really like to improve this thing's performance, maybe they can convince him. But I don't think, like, the way the PlayStation 6 is going to be positioned in the market, I don't think that's going to be compelling to him because of the way that he kind of sits and moves. Like, he doesn't care that much about graphics, and the PlayStation 6, the primary way they're going to probably position the PlayStation 6 is going to be they're going to position it as like a better ray tracing, you know, better resolution. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like that's not going to be all that compelling to Miyazaki given his history. He doesn't seem like the sort that would be like, oh, I'm so excited to leverage better ray tracing. You know what I'm saying? So they have a mountain of info on live service. Yeah, but the landscape and the outlook on live service has changed. Why? Like, why has the outlook on live service changed? Rivals exploded last year. Arc Raiders exploded last year. Like, I don't know. I don't think it has. I think a lot of the times we fall prey to thinking that because we don't like it anymore or we don't play it anymore that it's kind of on its way out or whatever. Like, I don't actually think that's happening with live service. Does that make sense? Like, if you're working on a, you know, like a live service game right now, you might actually think, hey, this game, you know, this game's got potential. This game's going to go places. And you might be wrong. But that's not necessarily because, like, the industry's moved on from live service. Like, live service is heavily saturated. So one of the main arguments people always make about, like, the viability of live service, one of the main things is, well, it's a saturated market. It's a saturated market. Well, wouldn't that mean that then live service is still alive and well? Like, does that make sense? Like, if we're going to argue that it's saturated, well, then that doesn't really make sense unless live service is doing, at some level, as a genre, it's doing fine because, like, there's tons of people playing live service games right now. Does that make sense? Live service games have had some massive failures, very saturated now. But the number of... Okay, so let's apply this to, like, another environment. How many single-player games launch in a given year? And then how many of those single-player games are successful? Right? The majority of the single-player games from smaller studios, indie studios, mid-sized studios, the majority of the single-player games that come out don't do very well. They crash, they burn. A lot of the studios end up closing down. They end up like never really making anything ever again. We would never look at single-player games and say, you know what? The fact of the matter is, you know, these single player games, they're just not making it anymore. Does that make sense? Like we look at live service games and we're like, well, there's been some failures. There's been some games that haven't made it. So live service is basically dead. Right? Live service is dead, or live service is dying. Well, would we say that with single player games? Like, there are so many single player games that come out every single year and they don't do very well and they fail. The vast majority of games that launch in a given year don't find massive financial success. They don't. So, but like, you're going to look at like the explosion of GTA Online, and what are you going to say? Does that make sense? Like, are you going to say that like, well, what? Oh, they're the exception. Oh, so was Arc Raiders the exception? Was Marvel Rivals the exception? Like, Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls, I don't think it's going to like take over the world, but I think Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls is going to probably be reasonably successful, and it's going to be an ongoing game. It's going to be a live service game. The coffee shop market's saturated. They still sell a lot of coffee. There just isn't space for more shops. And Haseo drops a 5-bomb. Poor Haseo believes every week he's in here trying to help, and he's going at it alone today, it seems. Mick D09 is has also helped today. You guys are going to need to have a historic Friday if it's going to happen. Single player game studios are failing more because they are bloating their cost. Live service are failing besides the established few, and fun have longevity. Marathon is not one of them. Yeah, I don't think that's why most single player studios are failing. Most of the single player games that don't do well are not from very big studios with bloated budgets. I don't think that's not an assessment I would agree with. Live service is not dead, but the gold rush is over. I would say that the studios don't agree. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're right and you're wrong, but the studios seem to think that it's still well worth pouring a lot of money into. I think plenty of single-player games come out and fail simply because they just don't garner enough attention. They don't fail because the budget's bloated. They don't fail because the studio was, like, stupid. They fail because it's really, really hard to have success right now. It just is. I mean, I get a couple of emails probably a day. Over the course of a week, I probably get between 5 and 10 emails a day of games that are trying to get Kickstarter support. Well, that market has also become saturated. Just go over to Kickstarter and see how many video games are currently trying to procure funding. Then go to Steam and look at the ocean of early access games that are there. Then go to Steam and just look at the ocean of, AA studios, medium-sized studios that are just, launching single-player games. Everybody's trying to get traction in just an ocean of games coming out all the time. Now, we would never look at how difficult it is for smaller studios, indie studios, medium-sized studios. It's really difficult for them to find success. We would never say that side of the industry is cooked or dead or dying or on the way out. We would never say that. But with live service, we do it all the time. And listen, I say that as somebody who doesn't even play live service games. Like, they don't really even appeal to me anymore. I don't have time for them. The most time I put into a live service game was a couple of years ago when Helldivers 2 came out. I put about 80 hours into it, and then I completely stopped. And then Arc Raiders, I think I got close to 30 hours in. Some of that was playing with my nephews. Some of that was playing with y'all and streaming it. And some of that was playing off stream. But I just kind of stopped, right? I'm not even saying this as somebody who's like wanting a live service game to play or somebody who plays live service. I just don't see evidence that like the industry's going to move away from it, or like, oh, it's on its way out and it's, live service games are dying. I don't see evidence for that. I see evidence for the literal opposite. I feel like people don't like it and they see the big flops and the big failures, and those two things in a blender are all you need to basically be like, yeah, live service is cooked. I don't like it, and there's been some big flops. So Bloodstained did good, and that was a Kickstarter. There have been some games that have successfully done Kickstarter, yeah. Yeah. There have been some games that have done some successful Kickstarter, but there's way more that probably haven't. You know. The only live service game I was ever really engaged with was Team Fortress 2. I mean, when I played Quake 3 Rocket Arena, I don't think anybody would consider that a live service game. That was just an online game that I played with my friends. They weren't like adding content. Now the guys behind the mod, they were updating it, but they were typically updating it so that it got better, and they were patching like bugs and exploits and stuff, or, you know, if there were glitches in the maps. When I was single and childless, live service was amazing. Having something to look forward to when you don't have much going on is awesome. I think the free-to-play factor is a major thing. Well, yeah, it changed expectations, because you're like, if your game is purely PvP or like a battle royale, you know, you're definitely going to have people saying, I don't expect to buy that. I just expect it to be free. That expectation isn't right or wrong, but it's certainly an expectation that has taken hold, you know, within the industry, because that's just the expectation that the players have. Team Fortress 2 moved to live service a couple years in, even if the term didn't exist back then, to continue funding the game. I don't remember that, because my buddies and I didn't play it for very long. We ended up living in Rocket Arena, and then we ended up living in Unreal. It's not that live service is dead. It's that it's so saturated and people are so settled, you have a single-digit percentage of chance of any new live service game to succeed or live in general. Yeah, I was talking about that before, like the idea that like you're literally going to need to become their new home game. That's essentially the battle. The battle is to become their new home game. They have home game. A lot of live service players have home games right now, and that's what you're trying to become. You're trying to become the you know, the player's new home game. So, you know, you're fighting a bit of a losing battle, you know, unfortunately. Live service has always been like this, where it ebbs and flows. As long as there's a chance that it might hit, studios will attempt it, because when they hit, they print money like nothing else. Yeah. It's not even about the printing of money. It's about the ongoing revenue model. I think they just prefer that. Certainly the very successful ones print money. It really is the ongoing revenue model. I think that's primarily what they find appealing. Live service is like venture capital. I make this analogy every time. You launch 12 games and hope 2 of them go viral. That's the model. Yeah. The live service games have massive momentum. It's difficult to move people off of the games to new ones. That's why I've continued to feel like Bungie should just announce a Destiny 3. You know, PlayStation should announce it, figure out a way to fund it, figure out a way to build it. Like, whether or not you do a tech lift by, like, you know, leveraging your existing tech and engines, a talent lift, like, you know, you've got a lot of studios and you got a lot of people, you know. So many live service players already found their forever game. It's true. It's true. Also, kids can't afford games. Free-to-play games create mass adoption. Right. So then you end up with the cultural zeitgeist. Right. Great analysis. I, like many other Marathon players, have been begging for PvE, and I think that is where the game needs to go to survive. Announcement for D3 would also restore goodwill. Yeah, I think both of those things would be very helpful. I don't believe that, because look at Arc Raiders. It came out and it changed a lot of people's forever game, and now they're playing Arc Raiders. A new game can always come out and triumph. Well, I don't think anybody's saying it's impossible. They're just saying it's unlikely. You know, it's unlikely. Why do you think Bungie has not started any new projects since Sony bought them 4 years ago? Well, they kind of told us. You know what I mean? Pete Parsons walked out and told us. He walked out and said, we've been operating in the red. We started all these incubation projects, you know, and then they canceled a bunch of them, and then they offload people into SIE. They offload LFG and Gummy Bear, like, so they spin up a new studio. I mean, that's why they, you know what I mean? They greenlit how many games and projects or whatever, and it was part of their undoing. In the wake of that, you're not going to greenlight anything else. Does that make sense? Like, they literally did. Like, from 2019 to, what was it, 2024, where he makes that announcement, they spent 5 years trying to launch a bunch of other things, and it was part of their undoing. It's part of what put them into a terrible situation. From Sony's point of view, how do they get return for their investment? I threw out my ideas this morning. I think you need to pivot Marathon to PvE. I think you need to take Destiny 3 out of incubation and officially announce it. And I think PlayStation needs to step in. I think they need to leverage existing talent or tech to try to lift the studio. That, I don't know. I don't know what else they can do. I don't think PlayStation can just sit idly by and watch Bungie wither on the vine with Marathon. I don't think that's an option, because that's what they're doing right now. You know? That's what they're doing right now. They're just like, okay, so Marathon has the lowest player count it's ever had since its launch. Like, it's lower than it's ever been, and it continues to go. That game is on the cusp of catastrophe. I truly am surprised that they don't even remotely speak to it. You know what I mean? I'll never understand why Factions Online was scrapped. Like, okay, Naughty Dog didn't have the manpower. Why not let them finish it and give it to Bungie or something? What a waste. I don't think handing off a game like that is like handing off a baton. I don't think that's how that works, because you build it all within your own framework and systems and, you know, whatever engine you're using. You know, handing that off to another team is not. I just don't think it's an option. Could we get 12 more likes on the video? What's good, Snake Eyes? Good to see you. It probably would have been more effort than it's worth to bring another team up to speed. But you also have to have another team literally sitting there doing nothing. Like, what dev team is doing that? Just like sitting there, like, not working on anything. Just be like, I wish we had something to work on. And like, you just like hand them, you know, your game. That's not a thing. Arc Raiders also created a game that was different enough from the other games to pull people from their home game. What's insane is Concord or Marathon were seen as the flagship titles, but they didn't do well. Helldivers was seen as peripheral IP, but became the best live service game that they put out. Well, it reinforces the notion that, like, you have no idea. I mean, I think sometimes you have an idea. Like, I think a lot of us looked at Marvel Rivals and we were like, well, that's going to be successful. You know, I don't think anybody looked at Marvel Rivals and, like, doubted its potential. But I also think that there's a lesson to be learned there. You're never really sure if a game is going to be successful in the live service environment or not. They are kind of, you know, they're gambles at the end of the day. It turns out that Sony does own Helldivers. It seems some people keep saying that they don't. Yeah. No, they own the Helldivers IP. They just don't own Arrowhead. Yeah. Sony's internal compass needs repairing around what is a good live service game. Why would that need to be... I don't understand why you're saying that. They internally celebrate all the revenue that comes from MLB The Show and Gran Turismo 7 and Helldivers 2. They will likely make good money off of Marvel Toko and Fighting Souls. I don't really understand. I mean, I don't disagree with you that, like, Herman Hulst should have nothing to do with live service games. I don't think he has a clue because he thought Concord was going to be amazing and it clearly wasn't. But outside of that, I don't think they're, like, under some delusion of thinking, like, what is or isn't a successful live service game is, you know, I don't think they're under some weird delusion like, oh, this is what makes a good live service game. No, this is what makes a good live service game. And they have all these terrible ideas. I mean, obviously, again, I think Concord is kind of a given that, you know. And a fly bomb comes in from Broken Earth. Hope is rising. You guys have 2 hours. Thank you so much, Broken Earth. We haven't even cracked the seal on 200 on the week, which is a weird record, but it's a record. Big factor now, too, is the ideological messages some of these studios are pushing into their games. Yeah. I don't have the energy to even debate that with you. Sure. 10 bomb from Wired Rope. 200 gets stolen by Twitch. I think Twitch I owe you 4. So I think I owe you guys 4. I tell you what. Let's just do this. I don't want to I just don't want to hear from people like that. So I'm just gonna fence the table. I'm not in the mood for it. You want to become a member and try it, I guess go ahead, but I'm not doing this with people today. I don't feel like debating the whole boogeyman agenda in every game. So sorry. Not in my interest right now. Too many conversations lately are just not worth having. Change is coming. Well, I think we are going to start bringing the portcullis down more often on chat like that. I mean, you know, you guys as members, you know, that's a perk for you. And people seem to be glad that I did it yesterday. So thanks for ever gifting me the other day, by the way. No problem. I don't know who it was. It'd be cool if we could click on your name and see who the gifted came from. Yeah. Well, he decided to become a member. Well, all right. We'll see if you decide to, you know, behave yourself, because I don't want to have that conversation with you. I am so tired of having the agenda conversation. So that's just a boundary we're going to have. I am tired of that convo. PlayStation's best live service games evolved from single-player games. Both Gran Turismo and MLB are good examples. I think that there is an effort to do that with Horizon. Like, I think with Horizon, that's their thought. We have an IP, we have a fan base, let's do a live service game. The problem with Horizon Hunters Gathering is it doesn't feel like an evolution or an extension of Horizon. It feels like something wearing Horizon's name. Does that make sense? Do you know when I will get the Frickmas I ordered? This week, Madam wasn't able to do any of it. She had some stuff going on, so we'll probably ship it all tomorrow. It might be the case that they need to improve playtesting or games user research. Concord and Marathon just weren't received well, but Sony is centering them on show. Well, here's the thing. If you look at, like, if you want to say, like, well, Gran Turismo and MLB, like, grew into live service. Did they completely change the fundamentals of the game? Did they completely change what the game looked like? I don't think so. Now, Helldivers made a big pivot from being, like, top-down to third-person, but it was still Helldivers. It was still that world and that vibe and that feel, right? Here's the thing. What they're doing with Horizon, on paper, it sounds good. I remember telling people, I'm like, I actually think that's one of the best ways to launch a live service game right now. One of the best ways to launch a live service game would be to take an existing IP and try to grow it into something. And I remember telling people, if you look at the world of Horizon and you look at the different tribes, the different armor, the different weapons, you could literally do it. But when you see the one game, which they're building for mobile, and then you see Horizon Hunters Gathering, you're like, what? It feels like you guys got this backwards. So, if Horizon Hunters Gathering felt more like an extension of the actual Horizon game, I'd have way more confidence in it being successful because, like, hey, all these people bought Horizon 1 and 2 and liked them and put in lots of time. Here's an environment where they can do that ongoing. But that's not what Horizon Hunters Gathering is. It's a Monhun adjacent mobile-looking game. The point I'm trying to make is some people lean towards certain games. And people don't want a game to treat one player different from another to garner more fans. I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Check the post that Bethesda made. Yeah, I'm not interested in covering it. I think it's just a bunch of PR nothingness. It's just Microsoft telling studios to obfuscate. And I don't care. I'm so over that company. I don't like covering them or talking about them. I've developed a pretty strong disdain for that company because I see through all their shenanigans, and it's not fun to cover because I was right every step of the way, and all it did was make people not like me. So I don't feel like covering them. Being right about Xbox for the past 3 years has done nothing for me. When you fair point, I also wonder. If they're trying to scattergun approach to see what's popular. It literally was their approach. They were going to do 12 games by 2026, and Herman Hulse was like, we're going to have like all these different genres and try to find all these different audiences. It was literally a scattergun approach, and it didn't work. I mean, it did work with Helldivers 2, but it didn't work with anything else, and I don't think it's going to work with Fair Games or Horizon Hunters Gathering either. You've gone full disappointed dad voice regarding Microsoft. I'm here for it. I just have no interest in talking about that brand. I just don't. It's just full of obfuscation and bad faith, and I just don't. It's got to be one of the most irritating companies and topics that I've had to cover the last couple of years, and it just feeds a machine of hate and grift. And I'm just like, I don't really feel like talking about that company anymore. Sony should just let Tencent make their Horizon clone. What's really weird about that Horizon game, the mobile game, a lot of people think it's going to be on PC and mobile, and it's not. It is strictly a mobile game. You'll be able to play it through, I think it's called like the Purple Launcher or something, which just literally emulates mobile games on your PC. That's all it does. It's not even a mobile and PC game. Now, my personal theory is that their goal with that mobile game, that mobile Horizon game, My theory is that's part of their efforts to grow in China. You can't be oblivious to the discord that certain demographics have when it comes to messaging. We've seen it for years. Instead, game devs just need to focus on good games. Okay. That 12 project thing could have been more cost effective if they were sharing technology and engines and assets, but I somehow doubt they were doing that. Well, here's what they did, Soy. Here's what they did. They got all this money. PlayStation gets all this money and they say, all right, okay, we want to get 12 live service games out by 2026. And I think deep down they knew about 3 of these are probably going to be successful. I think they knew that. Now, the next stage of their plan is where the more I've thought about it, the more frustrated I become with their decision making. If you know that the likelihood of success for all these live service bets isn't very good, the survival rate of these bets isn't very good, why are you having some of your most pedigree, some of your most long-standing single-player studios, why are you having them do it? Like, think about that. Just pause for 1 second and stop thinking about, like, well, Concord, it did. No. I want you to imagine that you're an executive and you're like, these live service bets, the reason we're placing so many is we know a lot of these just probably aren't going to work. They're not going to make it. It's a perilous environment. It is. Why are you having single player studios do it then? What was your crack squad plan when a bunch of these don't work? What was the plan? What were you going to do with those studios? Yeah, well, we just had this single player studio spin their tires for 4 or 5 years. They put out a game and it went frickin' nowhere. Like, what are you doing? Like, the more I thought about it, the more I thought this was a high level executive failure to think about, like, the most risky game launch that you can do right now is a live service game. And PlayStation at an executive level thought, oh, I know what we'll do. We'll have our single player studios take this bet. What? Why? Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense because it's like, okay, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do with those what are you going to do with those single player studios if the game that they're working on isn't successful or doesn't even come out? Like, what's your plan there then, genius? Like, that's why they should have just been working with other companies or working with studios that are, either already doing those types of games. And then you enter like a publishing arrangement or a publishing agreement. It's like, well, then if the game doesn't work or doesn't come out, it's like you're not left holding the bag. Like, you didn't have one of your studios work on it. Sony made a move I would expect from Microsoft, showing no understanding of the creative process. Exactly. The more that I've really sort of reflected and thought about how they went about their live service plan, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, this was a complete abuse of your existing studio's time. You just took their time and just abused it. You were like, well, yeah, we're going to place all these bets. And it's like, yeah, but what's your plan for the studio if the game fails, flops, or doesn't even come out? I'm still not over Blue Point. Yeah, Blue Point, like, and again, there's 2 sides to that road, but it's also like, well, you did this. You got all the money and you thought, here's money. Make your pitches. I wonder if the studios making their pitches even knew. Did they even know? Did they know they were pitching games that were likely to fail or not succeed or not even come to fruition? Like, did they know that's what they were signing up for? Like, you see the money and you see the potential to get some funding, and you're like, well, we've got some good ideas. But do you know that this is a rough bet? This is a bad bet? Like, do you know that going into it? I'm saying what needs to be said. We can't pander to one side of the cause or the other because of the climate. Games are for entertainment, not for causing discourse between people. Okay? Microsoft has a better history of licensing out IPs, getting Creative Assembly and Relic to make their strategy games is a great move. Yeah, I don't know if PlayStation could go the licensing route with their own IPs. I mean, they're doing it with the mobile Horizon game, so it's possible. You know, it's possible that that's a better route. You know, the Ratchet and Clank mobile game. The Ratchet and Clank mobile game, I think, looks like, okay, that might actually be successful. That might actually generate some revenue. And it actually, the crazy thing is, it actually looks like like Ratchet. It doesn't look like some big huge departure from that game and what that what that IP should feel like. It doesn't look like a big departure like at all. Part of the problem is Sony announced their intentions. Nintendo cancel game all the times. We've just never heard of them. Well, I think Shuhei Yoshida, around the time that he was no longer at the company and was doing like interviews, he was making it pretty clear, like, yeah, we cancel games all the time. I just think we're starting to get a look behind the curtain. There's a layer of transparency, there's a level of transparency that we now have with the gaming world and industry that's just sort of like, it's unparalleled historically. Like, we've never really had this level of intel and insight. Destiny Rising is licensed in Sony's. It has had success. I think its success has been pretty short-lived. I don't know if it's doing all that well anymore, Danzatastic. I'm speculating that the word on the street is that it isn't doing very well. That could be completely false. But that's just what I heard. I didn't even know there was a Ratchet and Clank mobile game coming. How far out of the loop have I gotten? They just announced signups. It actually looks decent. And they haven't done a lot of promotion of it until like literally just this week. So like, you're not really to be blamed for not knowing about it. I forgot all about it. They announced it a while back. I forget where it was even announced. I don't know if it was a state of play or just like a tweet, but gotta run me back later. Someone poke Buddy with a stick for me while I'm gone. Yeah. I don't think Destiny Rising has done all that well. Just asking, no worries. That's a good example though, Danzatastic, as like an IP licensed and put into another place. So you got the Ratchet and Clank example, you've got your example with Destiny Rising, and then we have the Horizon MMO example. So these are examples of like taking IP, going into another environment, letting somebody else make the game or what have you. That's what's really interesting about the Horizon MMO. It looks more like Horizon than the game that Guerrilla's building. It's very, very bizarre. It's like, it truly is bizarre. It's like, I don't quite understand how this happened, but here we are. You've got a company outside of PlayStation and Guerrilla making a game that looks more faithful to the IP, and it looks more like something that I think people would play. And it's not even made by Guerrilla, and it's a mobile game. So this guy says, you're a very special kind of person. I'm sure if there were more goats in your games, you would be happy. Is that an attempt to be an insult? Well, I don't even understand. Is he literally saying that because Zubair looks Middle Eastern, he would want more goats in a video game? Like, did you type that? Number one, did you type that and intend that as an insult? And did you think that was a good idea? Like, are you for real? What? Insomniac's roadmap pushes Ratchet about a decade away, if I recall. People didn't buy Ratchet and instead wanted Marvel games. Go figure. I mean, the biggest Insomniac's biggest problem is that they're really, really good at making superhero games. You allowed him to comment on me having a vagina? Well, do you have one? How are we supposed to know? You know what I mean? You know, if you're if we have evidence to the contrary, you know, maybe we would say he shouldn't make the joke. You know, giving you a little guff about having a vajayjay isn't quite the same as insinuating that he would like it if there were more goats in video games because he looks Middle Eastern. Like, I don't know if these are equal. You know, maybe how's it anyone's business beside my own? I don't know, dude. Like, listen, I mean, what? This is not our concern. You are very upset that he insinuated that you have one. I'm just saying we don't know if you have one or don't. So the joke is sort of like Schrodinger's vagina. Like, I mean, you either have one or you don't until evidence is supplied. So you both have one and don't have one right now simultaneously. Hilly says, I need to know, does this dude have a vagina? I think that's a fair, at this point, it's a fair inquiry, you know? And then Gang says, don't be racist, they don't equate. Yeah. I love the Spider-Man games, but it's a matter of people have complained about how they're now a Marvel studio, but they didn't buy Resistance 3 or Ratchet. They would be stupid to do it to Marvel. Well, hang on a minute, Soy. There are people that could potentially be complaining about Insomniac becoming a Marvel studio that did buy Ratchet. You're acting like every single person that's complaining about this magically didn't buy Ratchet. I don't know how you could possibly know that, right? I think that's sort of like a presumption. It's like when people sort of presume that, like, people complain about the price of video games, but they'll drop $15 on a Fortnite skin. The people complaining about the price of video games are not automatically also some Fortnite skin purchaser, if that makes sense. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, a lot of, you know, there's a pretty good amount of people that bought Ratchet. So, and here's the problem. When you're really, really good at something, you're going to get asked to do it over and over again. That's just the nature of things. There are people here that as soon as I boot up a video game and go into gameplay, they leave. Why? Because they're like, well, I tune in for the conversation and the podcast. That's what I like that you do, Lono, and I want you to continue doing that. I don't, like, if tomorrow I became a gameplay streamer and just every single day I was just playing Arc Raiders and barely engaging with chat, people would be like, yeah, I'm out, brother. You know, like, I like you and I want to help support your family, but this is not entertaining. Like, it's kind of the same thing. It's like Insomniac walked out and really flexed on the world and was like, we're going to become one of the best, if not the best, superhero game developer out there. And then everyone's going to be like, well, then, yeah, you should probably just keep doing that. And then they drop Miles, and then they drop Spider-Man 2, and it's like, yeah, you guys are really good at this, so just, you know, do it again, you know, do a Wolverine. We know there's a Venom game coming, like, you know, a Spider-Man 3 is coming, like, that's where they are. Now, here's the thing. Is anybody upset that Santa Monica is basically a God of War developer? Is anybody upset about that? Like, that's basically what they've become, is it not? 2018 Ragnarok, the Valhalla update, Lao Fei, and we know there's another God of War with Kratos coming. Santa Monica is a God of War developer. So, it's what they're really good at. Why would that matter? Now, obviously, if Santa Monica came out here and flexed on everybody and made some amazing game that wasn't God of War, I could see people being like, man, it's a shame that all you guys do is God of War because this game over here was really good. That's kind of what happened with Ratchet. Like, a bunch of people played Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and they were like, well, this is really good. I wish you guys could do more of this. Is it upcoming Kratos game, the remakes? No, they have literally said there'll be more mainline God of War games with Kratos. Like, Santa Monica has officially said that. People were wetting the bed over Lao Fei to the point that Santa Monica was like, no, there'll be future games with Kratos. Like, what? Everybody settle the frick down. Like, they literally officially stated that, and they weren't referring to the remakes. I know they said Kratos will return. Did they go so far as to confirm a Kratos game is coming? If so, they're making that known early. It is, to me, almost a guarantee that there will be another mainline game with Kratos. It's almost a guarantee. Christopher Judge literally said, he practically said it, and then Santa Monica just practically said it. I cannot imagine there being like, oh no, that Kratos would return. If they're talking about, like, what? Like, he's going to show up as DLC in Lao Fei or something. They wouldn't say that if they didn't have plans for another mainline game. I don't understand why Santa Monica is going to remake it when they have Blue Point. Oh, wait, never mind. This is the absolute insanity of the Blue Point thing that you just brought up. Blue Point worked with Santa Monica on Ragnarok. Now, I have it on very good authority that Blue Point was offered the opportunity to become a support studio. I would not doubt if that's probably the thing they were offered. Like, hey, we're trying to get this God of War thing done. You helped Santa Monica in the past with Ragnarok. You're familiar with the genre, the world, the lore, the whatever. Let's get you over here supporting them so we can get that out the door faster. Blue Point did not want to become a support studio. I have that on very good authority from somebody that I trust, that Sony worked with Blue Point to try to get them something, to try to find something to work on, to the point that they even allowed another pitch to be made to FromSoft for a Bloodborne remake, which was shot down for a second time. That's the second time that's happened. And Blue Point did not want to become a support studio. Now, I don't know if all of the Blue Point staff realized that was on the table, like go home or become a support studio, because they might have voted and been like, we'd like to become a support studio. It could have been executive level decision makers that were like, we're happy to get severance and go home. Like, we don't want to do that. I do not know. Blue Point didn't want to do the God of War 1 through 3 remakes. No, that's my theory. My theory is that if you're going to work with Blue Point for 2 years to try to find something for them to work on, and we hear that they were given the opportunity to become a support studio and they didn't want to become a support studio, it stands to reason that the project that was put before them was probably the God of War remakes, because they had already helped with God of War Ragnarok, and then they were working on a live service God of War game with Atreus going to Hades or something. Like, so it would have been very, very adjacent and easy for them to like slide in and help with whatever was going on with the God of War remake. Because from what Christopher Judge said, the God of War remakes are going to have a new combat system. They're likely kind of pulling, like, think about this. I wouldn't be surprised if the work in Lao Fei is heavily attributed with the combat system in the remakes. More aerial, more quick, more combo focused. Look at what she's doing in the Lao Fei trailer. It wouldn't shock me at all if the God of War remakes have been heavily influenced by the combat system within Lao Fei, or the other way. They could have been working on the combat system for God of War remakes, and they were like, you know what, this would be really, really good for Faye's character. It could have been a complete ping pong match. They could have been batting the ball back and forth. I don't think they knew that was their only option. I can only bring to you what I was told. And I was told that they did this, then they did this, then they did this. And, to quote, they didn't want to become a support studio. So that was the end of the conversation. It was like, well, then there's nothing for you to work on. You can't keep a studio open that doesn't have anything to work on. What are you paying for at that point? They may have viewed working on remakes like that as they might have just decided that they wanted to move on from it. Like, we know this. We know that in the wake of all their remake work, they were working on something of their own. We know that. So there was probably a pretty strong desire and an angst within the company to be like, we would really like to not be the remake studio. Let's make our own game. Whatever the game was, it wasn't good enough to be greenlit by PlayStation. It wasn't. So that's where we are. So when I say I still stand by my criticism that it was short-sighted to shut them down, the $3 from Soy Pogger, Kratos will return, God of War Hunters and Gatherers ship it. Oh my gosh, shut up. They, you know, when they shot that down to be, you know, support studio or whatever, PlayStation might have been sitting there being like, this isn't short-sighted. We didn't have a choice. We wanted them to continue to work on remakes and work on other property, and they didn't want to. Do you see? Like, I keep saying it's short-sighted. Sony shouldn't have shut them down. It's like, you have a treasure trove of IP that could be remade. Certainly you could have found something worthy of their time and then would have sold well enough to justify their existence. But if they kept it, like, if they kept just being like, well, no, we don't want to do that. If that wasn't on the table anymore, if Blue Point's leadership made it clear, we're either going to work on something of our own or our white whale is the Bloodborne remake. If we can't do that, then that's it for us. We don't want, that's what we want to do. Like Creature said, you can only tell your boss no so many times. And for him, it's half a no, and just the end starting to come out of your mouth is enough. Yeah, it's like, yeah, this isn't going to work then. Now, again, I don't know if that's what happened, but it's like, if that was the reason I'm open to thinking that and I'm open to that theory is because all the information sounds like Blue Point wanted to move away from doing remakes. That's what it sounds like to me. They were working on a God of War live service game with Atreus. Like, they were clearly wanting to do their own thing. Like, oh yeah, we'll do this. It'll be our project. They had their own thing they were working on. That didn't come out either. So it's like, to me, their posture seems to indicate they wanted to move away from that, which is potentially why ultimately they closed down. There's tons of software tied up on PS3 without ports. There's a dire need for a studio to do it. Blue Point's posture and behavior seems to be that they were done with that. They didn't want to do that anymore. And again, I don't know if it was at an executive level. Was it a studio-wide thing? We know these studios vote sometimes. We know that Santa Monica voted on where to go after the Norse. They literally voted on it internally. They didn't want to spend 3 full games in Norse mythology, so they internally voted on where to go next. It seems foolish for Blue Point to choose closure over being a support studio and having work. Well, you have to think about who's making the decision. If you've got executive level people that are like, I mean, we'll take severance. We're done. We're kind of done. We don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, your coders and your engineers and your worker bees are going to be like, well, this sucks. But if it wasn't up to them, you know, sometimes these decisions are made by like 4 or 5 people, and then everybody else is affected. We just don't know the details of how it happened. Because if you're an upper level executive and you don't really need to do this anymore, you know, you're staring down the barrel of another 4 to 5 years doing something that you don't want to do, or taking an early retirement. And I think for some people, the early retirement's pretty tempting, because it's like, yeah, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't know. I'm just speculating. But if what I was told is true, if the vibe was, we don't want to become a support studio, that just really changes the conversation. It really does. The whole conversation shifts and changes at that point. It's like, well, if you don't want to become a support studio, you got to be able to show us what you got. What do you got? What can you ship? And if they're like, well, this, and they're like, well, that's no good. Well, we really want to do a Bloodborne remake. Miyazaki says no. What else you got? And if they're sitting there being like, we don't really know, or we don't really have anything, you eventually run out of options. The original God of Wars had some aerial combat. That's what I mean. So trying to contextualize that God of War combat into the new third-person setting could be potentially what Lao Fei was born out of, and then Lao Fei could probably be heavily influencing the new combat system. According to Christopher Judge, the air kicked on. I was like, what is that? It sounded like somebody out there like turned on a fan. I was like, nobody's in the house but me. According to Christopher Judge, there's a new combat system. So, PlayStation has one of the deepest catalogs in video games next to Nintendo. How's there nothing for them to work on if they didn't want to support? Again, Gone Kid, I don't necessarily know if it's just that they didn't want to become a support studio. I get the impression from the trajectory and the timeline, they no longer wanted to do remakes. I think they wanted to do the Bloodborne remake. Think of it this way. When we first looked at the house that we live in now, okay, I remember telling my wife, I said, the house is annoyingly perfect. If we don't get this house, we're going to compare every other house to this house, right? Everything about the house was perfect for us. A place for my studio, a room for a boy, a room for a girl, a great, great backyard, a dead-end street, like all these things. It was everything. It was like, this is the house for us. It's right at the price that we can afford, that I was willing to spend. And thank God we didn't overspend, because, you know, my entire business got destroyed in 2020, which would have been, if we would have overspent, we would have probably had to sell. And I was like, it's right where it was everything. It checked every box. Well, it would have been annoying to go and look at other houses. The analogy here is, if their white whale was the Bloodborne remake, and they get told no for the second time, they're probably thinking, we don't really want to do another remake. We don't. We do not want to do another remake. Because why? We're going to constantly be feeling that angst and that annoyance and that sadness over, like, we really wanted to do the Bloodborne remake, and now we're over here remaking Infamous. Important to remember that Blue Point isn't built for making their own games. They didn't have a creative department, so to speak. They were very technical. That's why they were doing remakes. Yeah. So, it very likely was they wanted so badly to do the Bloodborne remake, but if they couldn't do that, they were kind of over it. They were like, we don't want to do, we're going to, the entire time, we're going to be looking out the window with dreamy eyes, thinking about, like, that's really what we wanted to do. And Rissick, with a gifted member, gets us to 202. Boys, it's within reach. I believe you guys could do it. If not, we're going to go on a 2-week streak of no Saturday stream. So, 300 members. If you divide that up amongst yourselves, 5 bombs alone. All right? 60 of you. 60 of you need to drop a 5-bomb. There's 500 people watching. There's 400 on YouTube. There's about 100 people on Twitch. So everybody pick a number. Everybody count off 1 to 60. And when we get to 60, if we have enough, then everybody pull the trigger. All right? Start counting off. All right, everybody? Like in gym class. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on. Start counting off, boys. We just need 60 of you. Derek says, unless they were already secretly working on a Destiny 3 before now, what would even mean if they announce it 6 more years? J. Chris with 50 months. That's a renewal. Yeah, renewals add up too, boys. So make sure and do your renewals. They add to the total. I have it on very good authority, Derek, that Destiny 3 was in incubation. And that's why I'm saying take it out of incubation and announce it. Do you know how long it was between when they announced Silk Song and when the trailer showed up? And a 5-bomb comes in from Ginger. All right, we just need 59 people now. Who wants to be number 59? All right, we'll just kind of, and Siege Master. All right, we just need 58. Rissick with the 5-bomb. All right, we just need 57. Danzatastic says good with 58 months. All right, there we go. We just need 57 people now. We're down to 57. You got, it's totally possible. What's good, Feed? I see you in the chat. But yes, it would be okay if it took them 4 or 5 years to release it, Derek. That's my personal opinion. My personal opinion is when you announce and you make people wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, the announcement and the release can be monumental. And Yanadid renews and gets us to 220, and Dynamite J with 24 months and a member plus gets us to 221. All right, and TJ does a single, and Hasio does a single, and a 5-bomb comes in from Danny Owen, and a 10-bomb comes in from Loch Ness. We now need 55. J. Chris gets us to 243 with a 5-bomb, and Darth Nihilus with a 5-bomb gets us to 248. See? Look at that. We only need like 54 more people. Well, Loch Ness did it times 2, so 53 more people. Jesse with a member jumps back in and gets us to 249. So we basically are now at 250, all right? So 250, and Alex comes in with 4 years, almost 4 years, and gets us to the 250 mark, all right? We are down to 50. We need 50 people. So we went from needing 60 people to do 5-bombs. We are now down to 50 people needing to do 5-bombs. Let's keep the countdown going. Sneaky Wolf with the single, thank you so much. There's some wicked collusion going on in here. And Hahasio comes in with another single and gets us to 252. All right, we went from 60 to 50 that quickly, boys. That was pretty fast. Twitch, it's your turn now, okay? And Biggie Smalls with 38 months says 250, let's go. Thank you so much for the member plus renewal in 38 months. Everybody just do the 5 and wait. Just do your 5-bomb and then just wait. Let everybody else take their turn. I don't want one individual going crazy, right? That we need to stop with that expectation. And a 5-bomb comes in from Gandalf, 49 needed now. Creature says, I guess I'll let mine count this month, and there it is, 62 months from Creature. All right, we're down to 49 people. Thank you very, very much. We cracked the seal on the 40s. That's just my stance, Derek, is that, like, they announced Kingdom Hearts 4 and then made people wait, like, an eternity. And then the trailer went viral, like, instantly. And Alex drops a 5-bomb on Twitch, and Justin renews and says, I'm doing my part, and Hasio does a single. Thank you for 31 months, Justin. We're down to 48. We're down to 48. Actually, 266. That's not true. 245 divided by 5. We're down to, 48. Thank you so much, Gandalf, with 48 months. Oh, hey, I'll post this as well. There it is, 267. There we go, 270. So now it's, we basically need 230. We need 230 members now. 46. We need 46 people to do 5-bombs. We went from needing 60 people to just 46. See how fast that works? We don't need people doing 50 bombs, 100 bombs, and 200 bombs. We just need everybody to just drop 1 5, and then that's your contribution. That's all you got to do. It's that simple. Truth be told, every week, if that's just 100 folks every week, boom, And then once you're done, you're done. Tap out. SDO with 35 months. Thank you, sir. You can say you did your part. Yeah, but that was the main subject today. I kind of threw out my three big ideas for how to save it. And Haseo just won't stop with the singles, and he bumps the line to 269. Liquid Smoke does a 5-bomb, and now we only need whatever I just said the number was -1. We now need 45 people to do 5 bombs. Just 45. Just like that. Unfortunately, I overpaid a decent number of my bills being too responsible, so I'm kind of broke. That's fine. Other people can chip in. And there it is, $275. $275. Thank you so much, Mr. Haseo. We're exactly 25 away from 300. And Kardoc Ren does his part, and he gets us to 280. 280. We now just need 44 people to do 5 bombs. Just 44. Look at that. We've already gotten it down to 44. This is like crowdfunding. I can't give someone $100,000, but if a bunch give 5, it adds up quickly. That's why I've said, if you don't have a membership, you're like, it's $5. What's the big deal? It adds up. It really does. This goal becomes an automatic thing every week when enough people are just paying for their own. It really does. We don't even need folks gifting like crazy if we could get that to move. But that's a cultural thing. YouTube is just very much like, you know what? I'm not doing that. And that's fine. I get it. Yo, what's good, Wolverine? He says, thanks for the gifted sub. And Winged Wheel's going to drop a single and get us a 281. Thank you very, very much. Oh, and Lono, I would have bought an Infamous remake. I think my point, did my 2 5s earlier count? Yeah, I added those before, when the stream started, Haseo, I added them. RPG Gaming renews for 11 months on Purple and bumps the line. Yeah, check your renewals, boys. Check your primes. It all adds up. It all adds up. You know? So... But the thought I had on the Infamous remake wasn't that the Infamous remake would be bad or not worth doing. I'm just sort of picturing it from the mind of Bluepoint. If, like, they had their sights set on, we want to do a Bloodborne remake, and they get told no for the second time, they might just be kind of down in the mouth, like, womp womp, like, we don't really want to work on anything else. What's good, Lona? What's good, SDO? How are you? If you guys are just tuning in, we're trying to get to 300 likes, so if you haven't hit like yet, do that. We are trying to get to 500 members, and Haseo drops another 5-bomb. He's done more than his part today. We need 43 more people to drop 5 bombs. That's it. That is it. Just 43 people out of roughly 500. All right? Instead of one person going crazy, we're trying to get everybody to just do just 1 5. So Haseo, I'm telling you, you need to take a break. That's the last I can gift. Okay, good. You need to be done. Let other people chip in, brother. It can't be you and one crazy person every week dropping 50 bombs, right? We're all in this together. If you can't gift, I get it. Right now, we do have the chat set to members and sub only. You can't hit the like button. We need 50 more likes. And gifting pulls people into these chats and allows them to talk. Periodically, I'm just going to pull that portcullis down because it's just what I want to do for my own piece. Dodevas drops a 5-bomb, and he's not even doing it with his renewal. And Sandy does a 10-bomb. She's like, I'll give you double. You need a 5? I'll do double. Dodeva says, did somebody say 5-bomb? And there it is, officially at the 300 mark. Risick with the 5-bomb gets us to 307. We are officially down to the 200 needed mark. We now only need 40 people. And a 5-bomb comes in from Sal and gets us to 312. We went from needing 60 people to do it to just 40, and now we're below that. Kev Dance drops a 5-bomb and gets us even closer. We are now in need of just basically 180 members, which means we only need 36 people. Just 36. You guys cut it in half, just like that. We went from needing 60 folks to just needing 36. Very impressive work. This is a chain. This is probably the longest 5-bomb train we've ever had. we usually, people will sit and be like, maybe somebody will do 50 or 100. And I'm like, if everybody just does 5s, you don't need that, you know? And one comes from Soul Train, 50 months. He's like, speaking of 5, how about a 5-0? Well, not that kind of 5-0. Sorry. I didn't even make anybody nervous. 5-0 as in 50. 50 months. Thank you so much, Soul Train, for doing a member plus. That's a lot of months, brother. I got Infamous by mistake. I got confused with Prototype back in the day. One of the best F-ups I ever did. Yeah. I would have been. It would have been great if Blue Point could have just gone on like a tear of moving through all of their all of the IPs that could get remade. Hey, now where? I'm sorry. I know I just made everybody's heart skip a beat. Yenid's like, I'm out. Yeah. So, a lot of things going on in the gaming world. Did you say Destiny 3 is still in the works? It's not still in the works. Destiny 3 was in incubation at a certain point in time. I believe they should take it out of incubation. I believe they should leverage tech and talent from the other PlayStation studios. So my big 3 ideas for fixing Bungie is they need to pivot Marathon to PvE, they need to take Destiny 3 out of incubation, and they need to announce it, and they need to leverage PlayStation. PlayStation's got to step in and help here. It's like, if this is a PlayStation studio, treat them like one. Treat them like one. You just going to let them sit here and wither? Like, listen, we haven't looked at it in a while. Trigger warning. We got to look at the Marathon Steam charts, okay? This is not what Bungie should be remembered for. This is not what PlayStation should be letting happen right now. There needs to be something significant taking place. This is on its path. This is a road to a dead game. I'm sorry, it is. I am. I don't like this. Like, so this is right before the end of the season. They were consistently hitting like 10K peaks. They are now lower than that. They can't even get to 10K anymore. They're getting to like 5 and 6K peaks. Okay? And a 5 bomb comes in from Gwendolyn Gaming and gets us to 323. And another one comes in from Jason West. A renewal says, Lono, NorCal Garbage Man here. I'm doing my part. Have a good weekend. Thank you so much, sir. We now need just 175 members, which means we only need 35 people to drop a 5 bomb. If you haven't done a 5 bomb yet, do your part. We only need 35 of you. That is not that many folks. We have 500 people watching across the 2 different platforms. That's just 35 folks. You can also just celebrate your renewals or use your primes. A lot of those have added up. So that's my personal opinion, is that like if PlayStation's going to be like, yeah, this is a PlayStation studio, treat them like one. And Broken Earth drops a 10 bomb. That's basically a double. We only need 33. 33. Being and Becoming is an atmospheric. A Too Thirsty does a 5 bomb. We only need 32. Look at that. Being and Becoming is an atmospheric Metroidvania set in a dying kingdom. Oh, there's a demo available of it right now on Steam. You guys, I wish-listed this game a while ago. And a single comes in from Shadow Dre. There it is, 340. We only need 100. And Blind Darkness does a 5 bomb on purple. There you go. Look at that. 345. I watched the last 2 days VOD. I enjoyed the newly revived focus on positivity. Also, I 100% agree with you. Slippery slope to suggest clothing for suggestive clothing in teen-rated games. I saw somebody saying they were age-rated, and it was like, they're like, yeah, you can't wear these in the Lego, and I'm like, that's not possible. When you play the Lego games, you don't play with those characters. It didn't help Marathon had server wipes. No one ever wants to start all the way over. I was told that that's what you do in those games, is that you start all the way over. So we now need 155 members. That's 31 people. And we got another 5-bomb from Eldest One. There it is, 350. And Gwendolyn with another one. A 5-bomb gets us to 355. Look at that. Look at that. Just like that. 145 needed. 29 people. That's all we need. We need 29 people to drop a 5-bomb now. We went from needing 60 people to just 29. Just like that. You guys are probably going to do it. You have an hour and a half for 29 people to drop a 5-bomb. And then Madam and I will be streaming tomorrow night. We'll get her to react to the week's gaming news. If you guys lose your absolute minds and you hit stretch, then Madam and I will show you guys Astral Ascent, the game that we've been playing co-op. I think that could be a fun stretch goal every week. Like what's Lono and Madam playing, and we'll show you whatever co-op game that we're currently playing at the time. Right now we're playing through Astral Ascent, and surprise, surprise, there's a DLC character in that game voiced by Ben Starr. I did not know that. He's like, "We come in a pack." I was like, "Oh, it's Ben Starr." Chill Haseo, you've gifted enough. I wish I had more money. No, Haseo, you did your part. You got the fire stoked. You know what I mean? And a 5-bomb comes in from Peachy Creamy and gets us to 360. There we go. 28 people. We just need 28 people to do a 5-bomb. It's that simple, boys. Share the load instead of making a couple of people go crazy. That's the vision. That's how we hit the goal every week. You know what I mean? Being like, I hope Silent Spartan shows up. Like, we can't do that every week, boys. This is the way. This is the way. So, and another one, Gwendolyn doing Above and Beyond. That's like their third 5-bomb. Absolutely amazing. Oh, technically T is joining us today on the roundtable, guys. Very exciting to get a chance to talk to him. Going to have him on the show very, very soon. Going to try to get him on the show, that is. Ben is everything. He is. He's in every single game at this point. If he's not in a game, I'm kind of surprised. You know? I'm kind of surprised. Rate this. No. It's a form of harassment or abuse. And a single comes in from Rissick. Thank you so much, Mr. Rissick. I appreciate it very, very much. Yeah, I've not purchased his character, though. The characters we got, I like pretty well. My guy's got some guns. And a 5-bomb comes in from Cat Uncle, and there we go. We now only need 130 members. We just need 26 people to drop a 5-bomb. We went from needing 60 people to drop 5-bombs to just 26. You guys have more than cut the number in half. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible work. Silver Subaru bumps the line by 1 and gets us to 372. Did you guys talk about GameStop CEO interview with Kotaku? I don't really want to stoke these fires of debate again. I'll just say this. If you're pro-physical and you're like, physical is so big still, and you have the secondary market and all these retailers that are going to be affected by it, GameStop CEO just kind of torpedoed the side of the boat pretty significantly. He is not helping your cause. I'll say that. He's not. He flat out said, yeah, we don't even rely on game sales anymore. It's like, oh. It's just another indication that physical is just not in a great spot. And a 5-bomb comes in from Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn going above and beyond. And another one comes in from Hollow Judgment, says, I forgot to add this. Yes, check those re-ups. Hit the $ and see if you have a re-up. It adds to the total. It really does. GameStop's all merch and accessories now. Yeah, I mean, they made a smart pivot. When I go in there, they've got the tables set up for people to play like card games and board games. They got all the Pokemon stuff. You know. Oh, nice. Nice. I see that email, Creature. Very nice. We should have some more guests in the coming days, so you guys want to make sure you're here every day or you're going to miss those opportunities. You're going to miss those opportunities. Is the GameStop CEO on our side? They've been making money on buying our stuff for cheap and reselling it as expensive as they can. GameStop CEO is a bit of an idiot. GameStop charges well above MSRP for Pokemon cards. Basically, they're acting as scalpers. They finally become true to its name. They stop selling games. That's what I'm saying. He's not helping your cause. He isn't. If you're pro-physical, he's not helping your cause. Physical gaming is important to the consumer, but most of all, it's important to ownership of a purchase. Otherwise, it's just renting. Asha Sharma's coming on. No, she won't return my phone calls, but, you know, yeah. And Banshee with 39 months puts us right on the edge of 370, not 380, I mean. Thank you so much. Check those renewals, boys. Check your primes. Check your primes as well. We are currently at the 120 needed mark. I'm sorry, the 115 needed mark. Gwendolyn, again, just going in with another 5-bomb. We now only need 23 people to drop a 5-bomb. All right? 23 people. That's it. Just 23. Do your part. Drop the 5-bomb and tap out, unless you're Gwendolyn and you just keep going. Lono's like, Asha, you should come to the show. And she's like, hear you? That's all she said. She's like, hear you? Like, okay. I'm glad you could hear me. That's excellent. And Haseo, you were supposed to stop. No more, sir. You rounded us out to 385. We're 115 away. All right? We're 115 away. No more, sir. No more. Let the other people pick up the slack. I dropped my 5-bomb this week, but here's something. Thank you so much, Jack Garland. Hustle's Own with 39 months says working and lurking. Thank you for working and lurking. I appreciate it. And Jack Garland does a single and gets us to 387. If you can only do a single, boys, it adds up either way. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. The days of hoping somebody comes in here and drops 100 on their own, like we've got to move past that. I think some of those very generous gifters spoiled us. Asha heard everyone and then fired everyone. If companies put rent this game instead of buy these, companies would get a lot less sales overall, especially parents buying games for their kids. Well, the reason you wouldn't use rent is because rent has a determined endpoint, and that's not what we're doing. We're not buying games with determined endpoints, so I don't think that's an appropriate use of the term. And there it is. Banshee does a double dip, renews their prime for 15 months over there on purple, and gets us to 388. Thank you so much. Haseo says, many hands make light work. It is true. It is true. We are attempting to forge a new approach here. We know the news has been kind of negative, but that doesn't mean that the coverage has to be negative. That's why today I was like, okay, it's bad. Here's how I would fix it. You know, that's what I did with Destiny 2 back in the day. I was like, it's bad, boys. And here's how I would fix it. You know, here's how I would fix Bungie. I've got some ideas for id Software and the stuff that we're hearing, because I don't buy a lot of what we're hearing. So, I don't want to retread all those debates, but I've got some ideas on how to fix those situations. If you guys could hit the like button as well, try to get us to 300 likes. That would be greatly appreciated. If your boss says, I hear you, be scared, layoffs are coming. Yeah, I suppose that's probably a concern at this point. You know, if you start hearing that, you're in trouble. You know, you are in trouble. If your boss says that, might be time to update your resume. Might be time. Might be time. Did I miss anybody over here on Twitch? I got Blind Darkness, I got RPG Gaming, I got Cardoc Ren, I got Alex, I got Eldest One, I got Banshee, I got Wired Rope. Okay, I got everybody. Thank you, YouTuber man, for reminding me to smash that like button. Yeah, you guys got to make sure and do that. Make that like your ritual. And I know some people don't like members only on the chat, but I know a lot of you guys prefer it. So we will probably do that every now and again. And I know if you're like, man, it's a bummer I can't talk. You hit that join button. You're a join button away from being able to talk. So consider doing that. I somewhat wish that you plant yourself in a game to hear you break it down a game again. I know a lot of people want me to niche down and just plant myself in one game. I know a lot of people want that. And that's just not really an option right now. There really aren't any games there just really aren't a lot of games in that category, unfortunately, for me. I don't have a whole lot of desire for like an ongoing game like that. You know, it's a little bit sort of like outside of my current wheelhouse, and as well, it's a little bit outside of that. You know, it's not something that I'm really even looking for right now. So we will just continue to cover the gaming news as it comes out. And I know a lot of people have come to enjoy that. You've come to say, hey, this is a great place to get and talk about gaming news. We're just wanting to kind of come up with a way to sift through the bad news in a way where the show is still fun, you know? From Friday seemed to do well back in the day. I mean, that was a bit of a moment. I think From fans like watching people play the games for the first time, and I think the allure of that, it fades pretty quickly. Once you're no longer on your first playthrough, it's just not something that they're looking for. That's all I can do, says Gwendolyn. I got us a bunch. I'm still got to get Halloween pre-ordered in my next flight for my next wrestling match. Oh, that's right. You've been traveling a lot for wrestling. Good luck with all that. Seriously. All right, boys. Gwendolyn's out. No more gifting from Gwendolyn. Haseo's out. You got an hour and 10 minutes to get 120. Power World's been great. Well, Madam and I are thinking about going back in there and starting over eventually, but when we're done with Astral Ascent, we're going to play Abyssus. We have a really, really great little run here of co-op games waiting for us. I'm very pleased. Probably feels like this after the last 2 weeks. Been a rough ride. Yes, it very much has felt like that. Yes. Hadigan. Yeah, many hands make light work. Yeah, that's what I feel like. I feel like a beat up, worn out old man. I was hoping to see all four of you and the kids play Grounded. My kids just really don't want to play anything other than Fortnite right now. And it's kind of cute. Like, they started playing together and getting wins together, and I kind of dig it. I'm like, I kind of like to see that. It's kind of cool. So, an individual game studio doesn't need 100% of the devs when they outsource and rely on other studios. Worth it to these companies is dependent on earned revenue and support from the studio. Huh? I've been playing around with Power World on Game Pass. What's the deal with playing Power World multiplayer? Does it become PvP or something? It depends on how you set the server up. It depends on how you set the server up. If you set the server up, you could 100% end up fighting other people. Yes. Does Lona still do the gift back thingy, or is that after we hit a certain number? I think what I'll do today, because I completely lost track, I completely lost track, is if we hit the goal, I'll just do a 5-bomb on each platform. I completely lost track of it today because people just started going crazy. So I do a single every 25. So if we get the goal on, I'll just give each platform a 5, because that's just, I wasn't able to track it because people just started going crazy, and both sides were going in. Keep them liking and playing games with each other as long as you can so they have a good relationship. Oh, yeah. They have just been like, all of a sudden, they went from, they'll fight and they'll pick at each other, but all of a sudden, they're two peas in a pod. They're playing Legos together every day. I started reading The Hobbit to them last night because I hadn't read a book to them in a while. We finished Harry Potter a couple months ago. Not the whole series, but we're waiting for the next illustrated edition to come out, I think, in October. So, and a single comes in from Sal to get us to 389, one away from that 390 mark. We're trying to get everybody to do 5 bombs. We only need, like, what is that, 110? So, yeah, that's 110 divided by the 5 bombs is 22. There it is, Sal with another one. And Dan Zatastic does a 5 bomb and gets us to 395. We need 21 people. We went from needing 60 people doing 5 bombs to just 21. That's it. Just 21, boys. Can you speak to how to fix the culture at Bungie? They nuked my third space from orbit, says YouTube Lurker. Listen. The only thing Pete Parsons nuked was the company. He really did. Biggie Smalls drops a 5 bomb and we're on the final runway. We've had no 50 bombs today. We've had no 20 bombs today. This has been all 5s and 10s, boys. This is you. This is your work. And another one comes in from Steam Deck Gamer. We are officially in the final stretch of only needing 19 people. Just 19. As far as like fixing the culture there, I'll tell you this. With the leadership gone, that's step one. The ground zero, hitting rock bottom can be cleansing. Okay? Pimp Taskle with the prime on purple. Thank you so much. It adds to the total. Hitting rock bottom can be cleansing. So what I would do, if I was in charge, I would do anonymous surveys throughout the entire company and see if you cannot find natural, organic leaders that have been rising within the company. Can you do it? Can you find some people that have naturally sort of established trust and love and rapport at the studio? Okay? Because if a name keeps coming up, oh yeah, this person, I'd follow this person into battle. I like this person. They're a good leader. They're kind. They're trustworthy. They're good for morale. You start elevating those people. You start lifting those people up. And you say, these are the people. These are the team leads. These are the project leads. These are the whatever. Okay? That would be how I would handle it. I think you need to go into the company right now and say, listen, I know this was painful. I know this sucked. But we want to put you guys on a path to, healing and growth as a company. And the only way we do that is with leadership that you trust and that you believe in. If the primary problem at Bungie was leadership, the solution would be addressing that first. If you don't address that, then you're just going to end up with a perpetual decline of morale. You know what I mean? Do you guys want me stoking the fires with a single in like 10 minutes? No, Haseo, no more. No more, Haseo. If we can't hit this in the next hour, that's not on you, brother. You have done your part. This guy says, I'm surprised that Ubisoft never made an RPG-free mode for AC Shadows to coincide with Black Flag Resync's release, since its gameplay is virtually identical, just stripped of the RPG stuff. People love the combat in Resynced. Why not try? You're just waiting for Orbitals. All these other games in between just filler for you and Madam. That's not actually true. We are enjoying Astral Ascent way more than I thought that we would. We really are. I don't know exactly what we have to do to beat the final guy. I don't know. I've not really researched it. We're just having fun with the content loop. And then we'll switch to Abyssus, which it's done a couple of patches and updates. So I'm kind of assuming that, that one will be in better shape when we finally get to it. Because I know it had some issues with, I think aim assist or something. So, yeah, I I'm certainly open to playing more co-op games with her, and I'm really hoping that Abyss is, solve some of its like foundational issues. If you guys have been listening and lurking and you haven't hit the like button yet, do me a favor and do that. We need 28 more likes to get to 300 likes. Appreciate you so much and the support lately. And D-Tom does his part. I think that's he's done more now. I think he's done one on each. He's done a 5-bomb on Twitch and one on YouTube. And we are now down to only needing 18 people to do a 5-bomb. Like I said earlier, number off. Everybody claim a number and do it all at once. AC Black Flag Resync has hit 3 million copies sold. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So count off. Who wants 19? All right. Somebody claim 19. Who wants 18? Who wants 17? Let's just do it in 10 in batches, right? You only did one? Oh, I thought you did one on YouTube as well. Just count off. All right? We'll just do the next 9. Get us to the 10. Just the next 9 people. Just everybody claim a number and then do it all at once. I remember you guys used to do that. We used to literally break the chat. And then the chat, I'd have to like close and reopen the chat. We should try to do that in the final hour here before we go over to the gaming roundtable. It looks amazing. Can't wait to dive back into Black Flag. I got to a turning point with Doom the Dark Ages last night, the DLC. It's like if you continue, this is pretty much the big turning point. You can't go back. And I was like, that's fine, let's go. And then I saved it and then switched to playing Astral Ascent with Madam. So, discount on Twitch, by the way, if you do it in your browser. Wait, are they doing a discount again on Twitch, a 35% off? I'm not seeing it on my end. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just on your end. Yeah, I'm not seeing the discount. I'm not seeing it. I remember the big dogs dropping farty bombs. Yeah, I mean, they could come back and start doing it again. I just don't want to continue to foster the idea that that's what we need. We need people dropping, 50 bombs and 20 bombs. It's great when they do it, but, it's better when someone's like, hey, I'll drop a 5-bomb, every other week or once a month or whatever. Like, that's equally helpful, because it's like it's... One to 2 poor people coming in and having to carry it is just crazy. No browser discount because of the mobile upcharge. Oh, he's saying it's cheaper on browser because of the upcharge on mobile. Got it. Yeah. Yeah, what's good, Igor? It was glorious. I mean, I would say those folks should wait and help with stretch goal. If people are going to be dropping 50 bombs or 20 bombs or what have you. Yeah. I would wait and have those people go crazy on the stretch goal rather than do it on the main goal. But that's just my own personal piece of advice to them. If they're waiting in the wings to go crazy. It's gotten a lot more expensive, so we're not able to do those big, huge bombs. I remember me doing 20 bombs, and I can't like I used to. Blame the economy. Well, they also adjusted the localized pricing. So some people are probably going to do it now, and they're like, oh, wow, this is a lot more than it used to be. YouTube made that update about 3 weeks ago. So that could be a contributing factor as well. Yeah. Black Flag runs so great on balance on the Pro. Extremely pleased so far. A Tsilu comes in with the 5-bomb and gets us to 4-6. 416, and Too Thirsty does another one and gets us to 421. We only need 16 people to do a 5-bomb now. Just 16, boys. We went from needing 60 people to drop a 5-bomb to just 16. You guys have absolutely rallied to the cause today. Incredible work. Incredible work. I told Madam yesterday, I said, I don't think they're going to hit it. I said, I think we're going to get another Saturday night off. You know, what do you want to watch? Do you want to watch a movie or something? You cannot stop playing Black Flag. Yeah, once I'm done with not Demon Souls. Once I'm done with the Doom the Dark Ages DLC. And Zinthos with the 5 bomb gets us to 426. We just need 15 people now. Just 15. Zinthos says, make it 15. Call it. Call it, boys. If you're going to bump the line like that, do it in style. Zinthos says, make it 15. Next week, as far as game releases, we've got Splatoon Raiders is the big game next week. That is the big game next week. Chad is definitely having the old college try. You guys have absolutely turned this week around with respect to the member goal. That's just absolutely crazy. Absolutely insane, boys. Bonkers work. Truly bonkers work. How do you guys like AC? It's great as it looked in the trailer. People seem to be really liking it. Let's see where the reviews are landing. Nova Hands renews his 55-month member plus. Good video on how to fix Bungie. Now fix Xbox, please. I think we might do that one next week. We're trying to come up with a way to be like, hey guys, if the bad news hits, we can still have a good time. And so we tried it today. We thought Friday was a good day to try a return to our roots, as it were. This is what I did when I covered Destiny. We would admit that things were bad, but we didn't just kind of like stay in a rut or a down in the mouth thing, right? So, Halo Campaign Evolved next week too, Deluxe Edition. Wait, I can play next week? Campaign Evolved? How early can you play Halo Campaign Evolved? Halo Campaign Evolved. Is there early access? Oh, on the 23rd? Halo Campaign Evolved early access begins on the 23rd. Well, I'll be playing that. I'll be playing that for you guys. I'm actually more interested than I expected in that game. The last trailer, I was like, okay, this looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. It looks better. It does. It's been way more productive today too. Not near as much as negativity as everything's bad, so we're just going to be miserable. It took a little bit of time though, Gwendolyn. That first hour was a little slow going. The chat was just kind of like, it was like I was like trying to pull a train from a dead stop. So we got to have that energy. We got to have that chat. We got to have that back and forth. You know, I need it. I need your energy. Imagine them adding a dodge to the third person mode. Oh, in Halo? Yeah, the 3 new missions. I don't know if I'll play it third person or not. And a 5 bomb comes in from Skillful. Thank you so much. Another 5 bomb comes in. We're going to pretend that says 435. We're going to pretend that that's what that says. And so we're going to take the 65 needed. And we only need 13 people. 13 people to drop a 5 bomb now, boys. Just 13 of you. We're all the way down. We're almost out of double digits. We are almost out of the double digits. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support the channel with your members, with your subs, with your gifteds. This wouldn't be possible without you guys doing that. And guys, make sure to make sure your bell, your little notification bell, it hasn't been changed. YouTube pushes out updates and it'll mess with your little bell. Your little bell. And you won't get notified, like uploads, live streams, and all of that. Make sure your bell's set to all. And make sure you're in the Discord with your memberships. That way you won't miss out on shows or uploads. Like sometimes people come in and are like, yeah, I'm not seeing your content all of a sudden. You know? Do you want me to make it say 435? No, Haseo, no. Guys, Haseo is trying to gift more, and we don't want him to. So somebody else pick up the mantle, right? Do not let this man gift anymore, okay? Don't let him. Hit it without him. One criticism people have is not being able to swap the hidden blade in open combat. I personally don't mind and enjoy the double swords. I think whenever you have... This happened to me in AC Shadows, and a single comes in from Broken Earth. Thank you. Yeah, do not let Haseo do this, boys. You guys need to band together and help hit these milestones and goals. And don't let Haseo do it. And another one comes in from Broken Earth and gets us to 434. And T-Man Grove, it's a 58-month VIP renewal in there. It says 435. There it is. There it is. 13 people. We just need 13 people. Thank you so much for all of you that are here right now. And gifting, renewing, and hitting like. And J. Chris does a single and gets us to 436. And Jaddix does a 10 bomb and says, I'll do twice what's needed. Thank you so much, Jaddix, for dropping a 10 bomb on chat. I got to get back to work in 14 minutes. Haseo, I think you pretty much helped us today secure this. And Soul Train's going to do a single and get us to 447. Thank you so much, Soul Train. And AC Shadows Naue had the ability to put on a wheel. Here's the thing. I was getting ready to talk about that. Like, Naue's combat was so good until it wasn't. Like, I just got bored. I don't know. I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And a 5 bomb comes in from Broken Earth and gets us to 452. It's official. It's official. We only need 10 people now. 10 people to do 5 bombs. We went from needing 60 people to just 10. Just like that. We are almost out of the double digits. Very, very crazy work today, boys. And Haseo was the one that started it all. Thank you, sir, for doing that. Fair? Yeah, I just, it was like Naue's combat. It was fun until it wasn't, and that is going to be an issue probably for me with Black Flag. But the beauty of that is I didn't feel that way about Naue until like the 30th hour. Like the 30th hour, I was like, yeah, I'm done. Or 150 bomb. Yeah, I suppose if somebody wants to be the gloater and the showboater, they could drop a 50 bomb on chat. If you guys get the stretch goal, we double the stream's length on Saturday night, and Madam and I play a game for you guys. Or we could do community game night, whichever you guys want. I'll let the people who show up vote. You guys can vote. We could either do Jackbox with the community, or we could just show you guys the latest game that we're playing. So, but that's a stretch goal. I mean, that's going to be almost impossible unless a bunch of people decide to do 50 bombs, because that's 750. You guys are, I think, easily in the next hour going to unlock Saturday night. No problem. We only need 50 more. But the stretch goal is a bit more. And that's just something that we, that's an extra long Saturday night for us. That's why we make that a stretch goal, because that's just not something that we're ordinarily able to do. Especially once we're going to have some adjustments to our Sunday church schedule, and that's going to be tough. That is going to be tough, but we'll do it. We'll do it for you guys. I hope the new AC games drop the RPG stuff. The series peaked with Brotherhood and Black Flag. I think Origins was like a good start, but then they just went full. It's like if Origins would have been, no, not multiple services, no. We're just, currently we haven't been doing Sunday school because of some things going on, and that's changing. So we'll have to be up earlier Sunday morning. We've been enjoying sleeping in for like the past year. We've been enjoying sleeping in. So, yep, we're going back to our normal schedule. And I'm looking forward to it. I miss it. So the kiddos are like bemoaning it. They're like, oh, it's been so nice to sleep in. I'm like, yeah, well, you need to get back in the house of the Lord. Like, no, I've not said that to them. If they were to do anything, I'd prefer it to be on Destiny 3. I have no interest in a D1 remake. D1 remake is, yeah, it's very possible. I'll just say that. It is very possible that ends up happening. I will say that. And that's all I'll say. Okay? Okay. And a member plus renewal comes in from Kill a Crisis. Thank you so much for renewing. Gets us to 453. Thank you so much. 2 more members, and we're into single digits. We'll just need 9 people to drop a 5-bomb instead of 10. We started out today needing 60 people. 60 people. And you guys rose to the occasion. Are you letting the kiddos play Fortnite solo? Just tell Madam about the outfits. We're probably just going to have a conversation with them about it. You know, we can avoid it. We can obviously avoid it, but I'm really not happy about it. I think both Marvel Rivals and Fortnite are doing something that I am strongly opposed to. I'm just opposed to it. I don't think it's right. You know, if you want to have that kind of content, that's fine. It should not be in games rated for teens. If it happens, I'll get my current D2 group and decide to get it rather than go and play D3. Yeah, I mean, if they came out with a D1 remake, I'd be back in there minute 1, moment 1. It would be a whole nother part of the content funnel here. You know? It'd be a whole nother part of the content funnel here. We'd be back in there, boys. Haseo says, can some of you guys get us to the goal, please? Haseo, they've got it. They've got it. They just they're just kind of choosing when they're going to make their shots. Imagine getting all the way to 453 and being like, nah, we're done. I don't think that's going to happen, brother. If you guys are just tuning in or you've been here for a while and you haven't hit that like button yet, make sure and hit that like button. That is super helpful to what we do here. Super helpful. Morgan Haseo, you guys got to trust the process. I'm a huge Destiny fan, but I feel like a D1 remaster would have a short runway. There's so many improvements in Destiny 2 that we take for granted now. Add that to the fact that there were large portions of D1 and D2 already. It seems like a waste of time for me. I would if I could. I don't have a money tree over here. No. It's fine, Dan. It's fine. There's enough folks here. There's 330 folks on YouTube. There's 75 folks on Twitch. Like Liquid Smoke says, check your renewals. We only need 9 people right now to do the 5 bombs. That's easy. That's light work for this community. If you can't do it, just hold. It'll happen. It will happen. I believe it. Destiny 1 with Mantle and 105 FOV. Yeah, I don't know how much they would walk in and say, hey, we're gonna take the brunt of the quality of life adjustments that we made in Destiny 2 and retroactively added to D1. Leo renews for 33 months. I started playing Origins, saw a story breakdown, and it drew me in. Last AC game I played was Rogue. You just started Origins. Origins is my favorite. Kaiser Soze does it. He gets us to the 455. There it is. Rounds us out. We just need 45 members for the weekly goal. If you do find a money tree, please let me know ASAP. That's right, if you ever do find a money tree. Thank you for 53 months, Kaiser. That's a lot of months. And 33 months for Leo. That's a lot of months, boys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Keeping your memberships going for that many months. And then there he comes, riding in on his steed. Silent Spartan secures it. The first and only 50 bomb of the week so far secures the 505. Now, if you guys want to link arms with him and the other Leviathans and have a run for the 750, it would certainly be nice after last week, but you have secured Saturday night. Madam's going to have to react to the week of gaming news, which it's bad news, but we will have her react and see what she thinks about what is going on. So that is tomorrow night. Make sure Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, make sure you guys are here for those streams. If you manage in the next 45 minutes to go bonkers insane and get to the stretch goal, you're going to need some other heavy hitters like Silent. Okay? Because, well, you know, we only need 5 people to drop 50 bombs. That's it. Just 5 people willing to do 50 bombs. Can we get 5 people to commit to that? No. But if you do, what we do is we double the length of the Saturday night stream, and we'll let whoever's here vote. We'll either do community game night, we'll do some Jackbox, because you don't have to install anything to play Jackbox, or Madam and I will play the latest game that we're playing co-op and show it to you. It's called Astral Ascent. Sometimes you guys like watching us play games together. Whatever you guys want, we'll leave it up to you if you manage to hit the stretch goal. So just count off right now, 1 to 5, the 5 people that are going to drop 50 bombs. Count off and claim them, and then you guys can secure the stretch goal. I watched Colin's podcast about the Sony Disc thing, and he's lockstep with you, and he's getting the same pushback, and he's sick of it. Yeah, I'd love to go on their show and talk to them. You know, I'd love to start, you know, making the rounds and getting on some of these shows that are out there. How's Abyssus? We haven't started Abyssus yet. We've been enjoying Astral Ascent, so Abyssus is next in line. Yeah. Got to go back to work for a minute, have fun with the rest of the stream, guys. I might be back before the round table. Just depends on how work goes. Thank you, Haseo, again. Appreciate you, brother. W to all those who gifted memberships today. You guys did it. You guys defied all odds. With the smallest amount of viewers. This is the smallest we've had all week. You guys did the unthinkable. You unlocked the weekly goal. Like, absolutely bonkers. You know, you guys rallied and carried the goal. It's truly a crazy achievement, because we've had big Fridays before. But usually it's like there's a bunch of stuff going on and there's a bunch of people here. Like, this was a very, very low-key day. We were just kind of chilling. Yeah, but I'm not surprised that, you know, Colin is... Usually I've seen clips of him saying things, and I'm like, for whatever reason, we are very much like in harmony of thought on a lot of these issues. So I just don't enjoy debating it anymore. I've kind of made my case. I've kind of said my part, and it made a bunch of people mad. You know, Silent's gonna fart out those 50 bombs. I don't think so. Dude with the drum set with 39 months. Thank you so much. Bumps the line to 506. Oh, we hit the goal. I owe both channels the 5 bomb. Let me do that now. Yeah, you guys cannot ask Silent Spartan to drop that many 50 bombs. And dude with the drum set does a 5 bomb and gets us to 511. He's like, I believe. Okay. All right, brother. He says, I believe. Here's the 5 that I owe. Here is the 5 that I owe to both platforms. So, okay, I don't think this is possible. 750 minus 510, basically, right? No, not divided by. 750 minus, so 240. 240 divided by 5. Yeah, 48 people would have to do 5 bombs. I don't know, boys. I don't know if 48 people can do that in the next 39 minutes. 48 people. We needed 60, and you guys rose to the occasion. Now, Silent picked up the final 50, but still, we needed 60 people to do it. If you guys wanted stretch, you would need 48 people right now to commit. And I think people have pretty much tapped. Should be more than 5 to each platform. I wasn't keeping track because people went crazy, so I said I would just do 5 to each platform instead of a single for every milestone, because like you guys were hitting the milestones almost interchangeably, and I was like, I wasn't keeping track of who was going to get a single, so I just decided to do a 5 for each. Because if I do a 5 for each, that's basically equal to, that's giving credit, that's 125 credit and 125 credit. That's 250, which is roughly what we did. There's like 100 in there missing. That would be like another 4 members. So there's 4 members that I owe somewhere in that mix that I don't know. I just basically gave credit to each side for 125 members. So that's how I decided to do it. We'd be jumping into marathon PvE mode. No, it doesn't interest me at all. It doesn't. To me, it's not a PvE mode. It's an extension of the Cryo archive, and I don't have any interest in it at all. Like, if I could play marathon and grind it purely PvE, like just the game of marathon, and grind it pure PvE, I might try it a couple of nights with Madam and just see what we feel, see how we think, see how the vibe is. And then I'd provide my own thoughts. I don't really have an interest in doing whatever the Cryo. It's this Cryo archive. It's like the thing they designed is cool for a very particular group of people. It's not really designed for people that are like, yeah, I don't really want to play marathon without PvE, and their answer is, well, you can come like basically test run Cryo. I don't know. It doesn't call to me. It doesn't. Now, a totally PvE way of playing, that is a totally PvE way of playing, like that to me is an open offer that I could take. So, could we get 15 more likes on the video? We have been really struggling in that department as well. Just trying to get the trying to get that like count up, boys. I feel ya. I hope that's what they're thinking for Season 3 PvE mode. You gotta think past Cryo. Yeah, it's gotta be more than an extension of Cryo. You know what I mean? Like, that's, again, that to me is the issue. Is like, you're attaching it to Cryo. So it's like, if I'm not already in the game and hyper invested, then why would I want to come and play whatever this Cryo thing is? Does that make sense? It's like the game's been running for a season and a half now. So if you're not already kind of in there and kind of vibing with Cryo, then what am I going to come and do in that PvE mode other than like basically dork around in Cryo? Like, that's what it's designed for. So, what day does that drop again? I don't know. I think is it the next update? They did like a blog post on it. How long is the season and a half? What, like 4 months? When did Marathon release? March 5th. How many days since March 5th? It's been 134 days. Yeah, it's been 4.5 months. It's coming this Tuesday. Right. So you're 4.5 months in, boys. Like, you're 4.5 months in. Like, if you've not been playing, and you've not been vibing with the game and doing cryo and all of that, like, the new thing that they did, it's like it 100% is not going to appeal to you. The entire thing is designed for folks that have been playing and are interested in cryo. And if you're not in there and you're not interested in cryo, then it's not for you. And that's fine. They're doing something for their more committed players. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I'm just saying that when they originally talked about doing PvE, I think a lot of us thought, oh, you're going to try and open up the game to more players. You're going to try and open up the game to get more people in and to get more bodies and basically get more butts in the seats is essentially what I thought they were trying to do. That doesn't seem to be the case. A marathon single-player story game would have been such a great change of pace. Here's what's crazy about that, too. Like, with what we've seen with the success of, like, smaller single-player games and smaller single-player runs, it's like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of wisdom there. There is. There's a lot of wisdom there about you could have done something with you could have done something with just the actual game itself and the lore and the story, as opposed to whatever they really thought. I don't think they're the only ones that thought this, by the way, but I think they really thought that Extraction was going to be bigger than it turned out to be. I do. I think they thought it's going to be bigger, it's going to be more successful than it turned out to be. And I think that's fundamentally what got them. So they tried to, I think, attach themselves to what they thought was going to be momentum and what they thought was going to be movement, and it just didn't happen. Heartland would have been a hit. No, it wouldn't have. I spent 10 minutes in it. No, it would have died so fast. It was literally a game mode from Division 1 that they were going to try and prop up as a game by itself. It was never going to work. It was never going to work. I was in there for 10 minutes and I was like, no. No. As soon as they said Extraction, a lot of people lost interest. It's kind of like what happened to hero shooters. It became stigmatized rather quickly. And I think Extraction shooters, I don't know if they ever got out of stigma stage, because one of the reasons I don't think they ever got outside of the stigma stage was the punishing nature of the game. This is going to sound weird, but it kind of reminds me of VR games. So, like, VR games are hyper subjective to... They're hyper subjective to the person putting the thing on, and it might get dizzy, it might make them feel funny, they might not want to wear something on their face, they might not have space in their house for it, right? I feel like the punitive nature of an Extraction shooter is also highly subjective. Like, some people are going to experience that, and it's going to literally feel like you just punched them in the face. They're going to feel like they got punched in the face. Other people are going to experience Extraction shooters and the punishing nature of it, and they're going to feel motivated to, like, keep coming back for more and grind and get better loot and try to get on top of the loot, the loot pyramid or whatever. So I think that a lot of people experience it differently. And if you're on the negative side of it, it's just like VR. You're just not going to do it. You're not going to like give it a chance. So like if you look at Extraction and psychologically you have the negative reaction, you're not going to give it a chance. You're just not. You're not even going to try. I don't think it's a saturation problem. I think it's a psychological problem. There's a lot of extraction shooters, and the look and feel of the game was competing with some heavy hitters, Fortnite, Battlefield, and MW. It may have done better if it came out before Arc Raiders. I think Arc Raiders definitely made things hard on them, but I don't think that was the primary cause of their woes. I think the primary cause of their woes was all self-inflicted. I think the showcase did them in. I think the art theft tipped them over. And then I think when the game finally went to come out, it was already laying down. You know? It was already laying down. It was like it didn't, I just don't think it stood a chance. I don't think it stood a chance. And I think that's the unfortunate reality of any live service game is if you don't have initial momentum, you're in trouble. I see Silent Spartan showed up. Yeah, he made it easy on y'all. We were gonna need like 9 more people to drop 5 bombs, and he just secured it. He definitely did the final push heavy lifting. I was telling the big boys to hold off and not do it. Right now, there's a nostalgia for remakes of classic favorites. They could have hit a home run if they stuck to nostalgia instead of chasing the trend. I mean, sure, but I mean, I would push back a little bit on what you're saying and say that nostalgia was also a trend. Like, chasing nostalgia was also a trend. Like, does that make sense? I don't think you're wrong, but I also think a lot of people started to feel like, oh, but if we chase nostalgia, that's also chasing a trend. That's also not a great idea right now. Tons of people have done it, and it could backfire. It could go poorly. You know? You're always placing a bet, whether you're chasing the trend of extraction, live service, or remakes or nostalgia. At some level, you're chasing some type of a trend. I think the real movers and shakers are the games that set the trends. And I think Bungie went from setting trends to chasing them. Fundamentally, I think that's what they did. They went from setting trends to chasing them. And until they get back to that idea of we have the pedigree, experience, institutional knowledge, and we have the data to start going out here and setting trends, then they're going to be in the same boat. They're going to continue to be in the same boat. They're going to be in a boat where they're just trying to kind of follow the currents and the wakes and the movements of the water instead of like charting their own course. I don't feel like they were charting their own course with Marathon. I feel like they were chasing something that they thought was going to be hot. And that's why there's elements of it that just don't feel like, it doesn't feel like there's a harmony. If you go and you read Christopher Barrett's vision for the game, I think he had a vision for charting their own course and doing their own thing. I'm going to be real with y'all. His firing and Ziegler taking over, I think, is ultimately why the game is where it is. I believe that it would have been much better and the situation would have gone far better if that wouldn't have happened. I think that's ultimately what sunk the game. I think you lost your DNA, your vibe, your vision caster, and you got a guy in there who thought, well, what Riot did with Valorant, I'm going to come over here and do it with this. And I think it sunk the game. Like, I don't dislike Ziegler. He seems like a really nice guy. I think he was probably the worst thing that could happen to Marathon because I feel like he took it in a direction where the game was going to feel, there's something patchwork and inauthentic about it. You have really great gunplay, but then like your flow, your UI, your world, your lore, it all feels connected like in an inauthentic way. They fired him just to let him settle in court. Well, it's frustrating because from where I sit, it seems like Sony settled, you know? Sony settled. So it's like, did Sony settle because they thought this isn't worth fighting, this isn't worth the bad PR? Because like a bunch of bad stuff, a bunch of dirty laundry was going to get pulled out into the light. You know? Why didn't he follow the path of Barrett? Leadership issues really don't follow the identity of your product. I think Ziegler thought he had a better vision for the game. I think he was coming from Riot, and he had a little bit of maybe a chip, you know, maybe a little bit of a chip. Like, hey, I'm going to come in here and kind of prove my mettle and prove my worth, you know. And I think that was ultimately Marathon's undoing. It was ultimately Marathon's undoing because, like, I don't know, it's the part of the game that feels the most trend chase. Like, if you look at the abilities and you look at how much it was just, like, borrowed from Apex, it's just like, yeah, it just, there's something inauthentic about it. Like, when I look at the abilities and I look like what the characters can do, I don't feel like I'm looking at something that like originated inside of the halls of Bungie. It looks like somebody said, that's cool, let's do that. That's cool, let's do that. That guy has that ability in Apex, let's do that. Does that make sense? Like, traditionally speaking, look at all of the things they came up with what Guardians could do. Lateral agility and ability moves, melees, grenade throws, Nova bombs, you know, throwing hammers, slamming the ground, like all of those abilities. And then they come out with Marathon, and it's just like, it's just a bunch of derivative abilities that we've seen before. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It was hard not to look at it and be like, there's something inauthentic here. There's something about this that doesn't feel like it was born in the halls of Bungie. Kind of like how Crimson Desert just looked and saw what other games were doing and just said, that's cool, let's do that too. You know, things that don't even necessarily make any sense. They were like, yep, let's do that, let's do that, let's do that, let's do that. They just took all these ideas and slammed them into the game. And like Crimson Desert's like this big bloated derivative game. So I think when you do that, it's, I don't know, when you look at a game trailer and you look at a game's how they position the game and how they sort of try to get you to buy the game, usually there's like a vibe check where if the game passes the vibe check, you're kind of interested. Like you see a game and you're like, ooh, let's think about all the trailers we've recently seen. You see Belmont's Curse Castlevania. You see Control Resonant. You see Wolverine. Now, I just did all that, and you can picture all those games in your mind. As soon as I say the name, you can picture the game every single time. But when these games came out, whether it was a Controller Marathon or whatever, and you were looking at it and you're looking at the gameplay, there's nothing really like defining about it. There's nothing that like, oh yeah, that's definitely, you know, a vibe and a new thing. And it's like, well, no, this kind of looks like something I've played before. It was like, yeah, this kind of looks like Apex. It was like with Concord. It was like, yeah, this kind of looks like a lot of things I've done in Destiny. This looks like maps and movement choices and guns and animations that I've seen in Destiny. You know, So I think that's the problem. Is it's like it doesn't pass the vibe check because it's like it doesn't really have its own vibe. It just seems to be borrowing from all these other games and all these other things. So I'm not going to make it without a break. I got 18 minutes before we go to the roundtable with Ginger. I usually try to wait. I'm not going to make it. I'm not. J-Dog, thanks for using your Prime on Purple, getting us to 512. The scramble for the stretch goal isn't happening. Now, it could obviously happen tomorrow night. If you guys rally the troops and show up and hit the 750 tomorrow when Madam and I are streaming, we'll extend and we'll just end that stream we'll double the stream's length and we'll do some Jackbox or some Astral Ascent. You guys can obviously tee up tomorrow night in the next 20 minutes if you want with some more pushes and some more member bombs. But I absolutely need a break. So just give me like a 1 minute here and I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I'm back. All right, we got 15 minutes. What did I miss? Short recap. I outlined the 3 things that I would do to fix Bungie. Number 1, pivot Marathon to PvE. Number 2, pull Destiny 3 out of incubation, actually announce it. And the third thing actually has to do with PlayStation. I think PlayStation should be throwing their weight behind the company. If it's a PlayStation studio, I think that they should be treated like a PlayStation studio. Equip them with talent and tech to flourish. If they're just going to let Bungie sit over here and wither on the vine while Marathon slowly falls into the pit, I think that's a complete... that's just malpractice. I think that's a complete misuse of the studio, its history, its knowledge, its insight. So, you know, I think that the bigger part of what I want to see happen is I want to see PlayStation sort of like honor their own purchase. Like, okay, you're gonna take them down to the studs. You're gonna lay people off. You're gonna make the studio smaller. Okay, fine. You've done that. Great. Wonderful. Now what are you gonna do? You're just gonna let them sit over there and work on. You're gonna sit them work on Marathon. That's it. It just seems like such a misuse of the purchase. Like there's just so many other things they could do with the company. I don't know. The corporate strategy has always been maximize profits. They usually go with layoffs. Well, layoffs are inevitable in any industry. Like that's not mainly that's not like my main issue. My main issue with it is you purchase this company and you've now put them into a position to do what? Like what are they going to do now that you've done these layoffs? What are you going to have them do? Are they going to be a PlayStation studio, or are they just going to sit there and slowly die? Thank you, Calypso, for the renewal. That's just kind of my issue with it. Is it's like there's more to the situation than just yes. Bungie mismanaged funds. Bungie mismanaged the company. Bad leadership. They're too big. There's too much. There's too much for them. To deal with or whatever. There's too much there to justify more spending or more budgets or any green lights of any projects. Okay, fine. You're going to strip them down. Okay, great. Now what are you going to have them do? What are you going to have them do? Like, are you going to freaking... They're just going to be Marathon until they can't do Marathon? They need more intelligence and management. I don't think Marathon can become profitable. Marathon was a big investment to them. They don't want to see it die. Oh, they don't want it to die. So they need to make the IP profitable to recoup more of their money and time. I'm not actually sure how they could actually get to a place where Marathon is profitable. Like, I don't even know. I truly don't know what that looks like. Truly don't. No idea. No idea what that looks like. Like, the numbers are so low and on such a terrible trajectory. I truly don't know what they would even do. You make it free to play, but then that means you got to get a bunch of people to come in and be so committed and so enjoying themselves that they start spending money. Bungie ended up being a Trojan horse for Sony. Seems like Sony is taking the don't make it worse approach. I don't know if Trojan horse is the phrase I would use. Like, Trojan horse is you go in and you completely sabotage. I don't feel like they've achieved any level of sabotage. Like, the amount of money they spent on Bungie in the grand scheme of their acquisition budget is not that much. The year before or after they did it, they increased their acquisition budget by like $8 billion. So like they were already increasing and saying they were willing to spend quite a bit more in acquisition spending. Now, a lot of that acquisition spending went into like license and IP acquisition and not necessarily studio acquisition. So, let me take the timer down. We got 8 minutes, and we're going over to the round table. You guys have secured tomorrow night. Remember, Saturday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. Those are public streams, by the way, so try to tune into those. It is extremely helpful to have those streams, having support and having people show up. We know who's on. Tonight on the round table, or this afternoon on the round table, it's me, Ginger, Chrono, and Technically T. If you guys remember, Technically T is the one that stirred the hornet's nest with his comments on Physical. He got retweeted by whatever the name that comedian is. What's his name? Noah. His name is leaving my brain right now. He has his own show or whatever the frick. Trevor Noah. I was like, Noah. No, Trevor Noah, not Noah. I was thinking his first name was Noah. He got retweeted by Trevor Noah, and it kind of went viral. People were definitely having a go at him. Over that one. So that is going to be the roundtable lineup today. Excuse me. Yeah, but have all you guys over the roundtable. That's right. I'll provide a link in the chat. I believe I have redirect set up, and I'll provide you guys with a link. We'll do a raid on Twitch because he does stream in both places, just like me. He does stream in both places, just like me. No, GameStop did not leak the pre-order date nor the price of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. For whatever reason, Google is pulling the release date and pricing information for Beast of Reincarnation, which releases August 4th, and the standard edition retails at $59.99. That's weird. How is that even happening? Huh. That's very strange. Stone Spire's going to gift one here at the buzzer. He's going to try to round us out and get us 10 away from 525. He's trying to give some padding for tomorrow, hoping that maybe you guys hit stretch. Always good to see you, Stone Spire. He's the king of the tee-up, and there it is. He's hoping for a 10 bomb today at the buzzer. You guys have about 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes for a last-minute scramble. If you guys get it to 750, the stretch goal, you're not going to do that in 5 minutes. I don't think that's actually possible. That would literally be nothing but 50 bombs. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of the channel. It'd have to be tomorrow night, but you can give yourself some cushion. If you do that, we'll double the length of tomorrow's stream. Madam and I will hang out with you guys and play either a game for you or with you. Thank you, Solemn, for 40 months. Adding to the total as well. Jonathan Hancock says, do it. You guys can spam Farty Bomb as much as you want. I don't know if we've ever had that happen. You're talking about like 5 people doing it all at the same time. I don't know if we've ever had that happen. We've had 2 people sometimes like go back and forth. Never that many. That would be insane. Yo, what's good, son? Enjoy your meal. Oh, you're on a lunch break. Nice. Yes, we've seen that. Yeah, Kratos will officially be recast. Yep. he suffered a major injury and he won't be available until like next year. And they're like, yeah, that kills the project. So they're going to have to recast him. Madam's always a breath of fresh air. I mean, there's a lot of stories and things from the week that we covered. You know, we had digital ownership debates continuing. You guys still haven't heard Madam's thoughts on that because we didn't get to do one last week. We had the Xbox loses the lawsuit. We had Sony execs dumping stock. We had, what do we had? Astrobot PC emulation. We had GTA 6 PC delay, Xbox layoffs, and digital ownership. We did kind of a reaction to that. It's actually been a really dry week for the news. Like, it came to a screeching halt. All the bad news last week kind of killed not just the vibe, but the news cycle. We need the news to pick back up. So... We need the news to pick back up. She's always honest and to the point. I like her take on biased. When you're not in this world, yeah, a lot of this stuff ends up looking very, very different when you're not in this world. Like if you're in this world, you're more prone to, you know, feeling like things are super, super bad, or, you know, your team is losing or your team is winning, and then Madam comes in and she's like, yeah, I don't care about any of that. All right, you guys have 2 minutes. I'm gonna actually send you guys over about a minute early to try to help Ginger start on time. So you guys have 2 minutes. Did we actually finally hit the three? We did. We hit 300 likes. Give us some like padding. If you haven't hit the like button yet, hit the like button yet as we're on our way out. Remember to do that. Remember to do that when you get over there to Ginger's show. If you're watching on YouTube, to hit that like button. We are going to raid Ginger Prime TV on Purple. And then we're going to redirect on YouTube. There's supposed to be a Phantom Blade Zero showcase or state of play happening. When do you think that will be? I don't know. Next month, maybe? Okay. Let me get the link here from Ginger. There you go. That's where we're headed, boys. All right. Get over there. Get going on the likes. Should be a good round table. Okay? I'll see you guys in just a moment over there with them, and then I'll see you tomorrow night with Madam. Don't miss it. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern.